The Launch Masterclass Lesson 2. Welcome. Just wanted to, I've got a few notes for you, and then I'm going to step back and we're going to get rolling. So obviously this is Lesson 2. We had Lesson 1 yesterday. If you weren't with us for that, then there will be a replay available. In fact, there already is a replay available, but stick with me live here for this Lesson 2. I'll do a quick catch up for you, and all this material will be ready for you or available. So the way this is working, these days are flying by for me. This is Saturday. All this, I'm going to be teaching you through next Friday. All this material, there'll be replays for everything that's going to be available all through next Friday. And let me see. So on this page, you can leave comments. There is, we use this plugin called Disqus or Disqus. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but if you haven't registered for that before, you might have to register it, but we just do that one time and then you can leave comments. And the reason I'm talking about comments so early in there, in this is because I love when you leave comments for me, because it's how I can read the room. You know, because otherwise it's just me and a whole bunch of cameras and a couple team members. And so the comments allow me to read the rooms. I read the room, not rooms, read the room. I will be watching those comments and looking at them throughout the broadcast. We'll be pulling questions from those comments. On yesterday's lesson, we answered dozens of questions. It was awesome. So please, that's where I draw the energy from. You know, yesterday we went 3 hours. If you count the super secret, it was a little over 3 hours. And it was great. And I had so much energy when I was done because we had over 2,000 comments yesterday. So that was absolutely awesome. So I mentioned we went 3 hours yesterday. Today, it's going to be another 2.5 to 3 hours. And it's going to be action-packed. It's going to keep on moving. I'm going to do my best to keep you engaged. And we have a lot of ground to cover. If you were here yesterday and you thought it was like drinking from a fire hose, today's sort of going to be the same. And it's going to be more tactical than yesterday. We're going to be covering those 3 types of launches and figuring out which is the right one for you right now. So we do have, I've got some notes here to tell me what to say to you. One thing I want to note, so we do have lesson 3 coming up tomorrow. And this is a weird one. This is the first time it's ever happened in the Launch Masterclass. But here for most of the people in the United States, daylight savings time kicks in early tomorrow morning. So it's the fall here. If you're in Australia, I know it's the spring, but here it's the fall, it's autumn, and you fall back in autumn. So clocks will be set back an hour. So for most, we're going to start at the same time, Colorado time, the same time Eastern time. I'm in Colorado, the same time Eastern time. But I know for the people in the Southern Hemisphere, it can really change things in terms of your time compared to the time zone difference. And I know some places like Arizona, they don't do the time zone thing. So what I'm saying is use that time zone converter that we sent out to you that's on the concierge page to figure out when the broadcast is tomorrow. So I know that's looking way ahead, but I'm going to try to mention that a couple times. Pay attention to time zones in terms of attending tomorrow. So in any case, today, 2.5 to 3 hours. I'm going to be rushing to get everything in that amount of time because I've got so much to share with you. Let me see. I think, we are going to have another super secret segment. For those of you who were with me for the super secret segment yesterday, what did you think? Was that sort of cool? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down on that. So if you weren't here yesterday, the super secret segment is the one segment we're going to cut out of the recording. So in the replay, those folks will not get the super secret segment. And the reason is, it's my carrot to try to get you to show up live, because I know when you show up live, it's better for me. I have more energy. It's more fun for me. But I just know over the years, I've had a lot of people go through this training. And I know the people that show up live tend to be the most engaged and tend to get the best results. So as here's an extra carrot for you. I have a super secret segment that only the folks that are on here live will get to see. It'll be cut out of the replay. So I think that's it. Let me check in with Dan. Am I forgetting anything at all, Dan? Are we?
I think we're ready to rock and roll.
Okay. Are we ready to rock and roll? Okay. Here we go. lesson 2 of the Launch Masterclass. It's been 25 years since I started my online business. It had the most humble beginnings you could imagine. I started from a homemade desk in my basement. That was in 1996, when online business was barely a thing. My friends and family wondered if I was chasing a silly dream. But I had a vision, even way back then. I had a vision for an online business that I could run from anywhere. An online business that could reach the world. When I first started out, there was no one to learn from. So I went way back, as far as 70 years back, to study old school marketing legends. My success came ever so slowly, but the results kept growing. I had to invent a new way of marketing, a new way of launching. Then, in the early 2000s, people started to notice my results, and the calls started to come in. They wanted to learn from me. They wanted my formula. In 2005, I published the very first edition of my launch formula. And it sounds crazy to say, but that one training, constantly updated, has become the stuff of legend. It changed online business forever. And now, all these years later, people still wonder if they can have an online business, or if it's just a silly dream. They wonder if it's too late, or there's too much competition. But this is what I know. There's never been a better time to start and grow an online business. Because the last couple of years has made online business the new normal. And online education is literally becoming a mandate. You see, this story really isn't about me. It's about my students and what they've done. Because they've had over $1 billion in launches. This is the story of how, with hard work and the right formula, they changed the trajectory of their lives. They've built businesses and created amazing lifestyles. And whether they're teaching people to meditate or play tennis, whether they're helping people with their health or their relationships, they've changed the lives of their clients. So they're the real heroes. And now, with this Launch Masterclass, it's time to welcome a new class of heroes. So welcome to the Launch Masterclass. Buckle your seatbelt because it's time to launch. Okay, here we go. Lesson 2. We've got a lot of ground to cover. I'm here to get you launched, to get you into an online business, to get your online business launched, or if you already have one, to help you grow it in a significant way. The reality is that if you want to have an online business and everything that affords you, the income, the lifestyle, the freedom of being able to live where you want, of being able to make money. Well, here's the cliche: make money while you sleep. In other words, not trade dollars for hours. The ability to work with the people you want, to do the work you want, to make the impact you want. If you want all those things that an online business will give you, and I speak to you as someone who's been in business for 25 years online now, you need to launch. No one starts off slowly and survives. You need the momentum that a launch gives you. You need the cash flow that a launch gives you. And so in 1996, I started this first online business with the most humble beginnings possible. And I spent about 8 years teaching people. My market then was the stock market. So I taught people about the stock market. And then in 2005, after 8 years of figuring this process out, of figuring out how to launch, I came out with my first online, or my first product launch formula program to teach people how to launch. Since then, I've had over 1 million people go through this training you're going through. My free training, there's not 1 million paying clients, my free training, but I've had tens of thousands of people go through my paid training. And they have done $1 billion in results, billion with a B. And that's what I'm here to show you. Now, a couple of quick caveats is that There's no get rich quick here. There's no easy button. There's work involved. There's absolutely work involved. I'm not just going to give you some button to put on your computer or your phone and money's going to come flying out of it. You know that's not the way life works. Anytime you want to create change, anytime you want to create something great, and an online business is something great, then there is work involved. So that's caveat number one. Caveat number two is this class is free. I'm teaching it for a week here. I started yesterday on Friday. We're going to go through next Friday. We've got, I think, 6 live sessions. Plus, we've got after hours sessions. We've got case studies with you. We've got PDFs. We've got coaches answering your questions. We've got a Telegram channel. We've got a Facebook group. We've got all kinds of resources, 100% free, 100% free for you. And I know, during this time is when I will open up the registration for my product launch formula coaching program. So I'm going to be telling you about that, but that's still to come in the future. First, I want to give you as much. I like to think of this as if my product launch formula coaching program is the best coaching in the world on how to launch an online business, an online course, membership site, a mastermind, a coaching program, artwork, books, you name it, even widgets. If it's the best way to launch online, if that's my product launch formula coaching program, my paid program, then I like to think of this as this masterclass, this free masterclass, as being the second greatest, the second best training in the world. So that's a quick introduction. You might have already met Dan over here. Dan is running the show and he's my producer. I also have Kristen over here. You can't see her, but she's my chief operations officer. She runs the entire business. I've got Joan over here taking care of all of us. And there's another 37 people in the background. My team is now 40 people. There's 40 of them supporting you. You'll see them in the comments. You're getting the answers from them on customer service. They're making the tech work. And so I just want to let you know the lay of the land. I'm coming to you from my hometown. This is my secret headquarters in Durango, Colorado. This is not my home. This is my secret headquarters where we do video and broadcasts and stuff like that. Okay, enough of that. Let's get rolling. Are you guys with me? Right here is my iPad. I've got comments. I've got some notes here, but let's get rolling. So yesterday we covered a lot of ground. We went 3 hours. We went 3 hours, a little longer if you count the super secret segment. 3 hours, but I taught this is the sideways sales letter. The sideways sales letter is the formula that people launch. If you've seen someone launch in a big way online, where you're like, oh my gosh, that's pretty amazing. They just blew up in a big way. If you've seen someone launch like that, then they learned from me, or they learned from someone who learned from me. I've been doing this for a long time. I've taught a lot of people, most of the top experts, gurus, thought leaders, what other words do we use? Influencers. They've come through my world, or they've come through someone who came through my world. So we taught this sideways sales letter, where you go through 3 pieces of value content. You deliver value, 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 and then you open up the cart and start making sales. So the whole idea of this launch is you deliver great value ahead of time, ahead of the sale. You get people excited, you get them stoked, you get them to understand just how big an opportunity they have to change their life through your work. And no matter what you're doing, you're either delivering pleasure or reducing pain. That's what we all do. And so if they work with you or if they buy from you, they'll have the opportunity to have a better life. And I don't care if it's a painting, if it's a book, if it's a course on how to drive a golf ball further. At the end of the day, we're giving someone an opportunity to have a better life. And this pre-launch basically tells them that story and actually delivers value. So hopefully they even start to get some results before you actually ask for the sale. So we covered that. We also talked about the problem solution path and the mental triggers. So this is what it looked like yesterday when we really got into it. it got a little bit crazy. Again, if you haven't seen this, go check out, after this is over, go check out the replay of lesson 1. So this is the formula. This is the formula that people use to launch effectively. If you look at the way Apple launches their iPhones, where they build up anticipation ahead of time. If you look at the way Hollywood releases their movies, where they build up the anticipation ahead of time, that's really what we're doing. It takes that type of a launch and it brings it to us, to people who don't have those resources that Hollywood has or that Apple has. So this, again, if you missed lesson 1, definitely check it out, because I went really deep on this and how you can build anticipation for your product. So that's where we were yesterday. Now we're going to jump into the 3 primary types of launches. So there are more than 3, but these are the 3 big ones, the 3 most important. And depending where you are in your journey, whether you've got a business or whether you're just starting out, or maybe you have you're just starting out, you don't have a list, you don't have a product, you've got that online business, maybe you're a one-on-one practitioner and you've got clients, but but it's still like a one-on-one type of deal, and you don't have a leveraged income, a leveraged business, or you might have some artwork or a book, you're going to fall into one of these. So the first is the seed launch. And the seed launch is going to be, if you're just starting out, even if you don't have a list, even if you don't have a product, or if you've got an established business and you want to create a new product. It's time to come up with something new, but you prefer to create it and get paid for it before you create it. So that's the seed launch I'm going to talk about. Then the internal launch is if you have an existing product and an existing list. And when I say list, I'm talking about an email list. It could be a social following, but if you're in my world, I'm always going to be pushing you to move from a social following to an email list. You don't want to leave the social behind, but you want to use social to drive to an email list. So the internal is a little more advanced launch, and I'm going to go through each of these and why you should use which one when. And then the JV launch, I like to say it's like pouring gasoline on a fire, or for those of you outside of the States or North America, like pouring petrol on a fire. This is where results can really, really blow up. So like when and I've done all of these, I've done all these many times, but when I went from the internal launch, and then I went to my very first JV launch, I multiply my results by 6x, by 6 times. So this is more advanced, it's more work, but it's really, really powerful. So each one of these launches will have a time and a place for you in your future, and we're going to walk through each one of these. So sound good? You guys with me? Are you ready? And we're going to just dive right into the seed launch. So what if you could start with no list and no product? So you're starting from scratch, and you can actually get paid to create your product. Get paid to create your product before it's even a thing. And oh, by the way, when you follow this process, you're going to create the absolute best product you could possibly create. And people are going to love you for it. And you're going to generate success stories and case studies that you can use further on down the road. And you're going to create a product that you're going to be able to sell for years. Would that sound pretty amazing to you? We're talking about the seed launch. I've been teaching the seed launch for years, and these are the kind of results we've seen. In fact, when I first started teaching about product launches, so short history lesson. In 1996, I started my first business. Back then, I was teaching people about the stock market. I was publishing newsletters about the stock market. I did that for 8 years. And then in 2005, I decided to start teaching about business building, about doing product launches. I did a seed launch for my product launch formula coaching program. That was the first way I ever delivered it. Now, again, you look around at what we're doing here. I've had over 1 million people go through this launch masterclass with me. I've had tens of thousands of people go through my product launch formula coaching program. They've gotten $1 billion of results. But it all started with a seed launch, that first seed launch that I did back all those years ago. And I only had 6 people join me in that seed launch. I convinced 6 people to buy from me. And that was the seed that built this entire business, this entire empire. So the seed launch is extraordinary because it's the simplest launch. Generally, there's only one piece of pre-launch content. You start off and you build up that seed list, a very, very small list, but you build that up, you do your launch, and then you'll deliver your product over time to those people that have bought from you. And every step of the way, instead of you having to go into a mad laboratory and figure out, what am I going to teach? How am I going to deliver this product? Every step of the way, you're consulting with your new clients and you're figuring out what they need. And in essence, you're just answering their questions. So if you have enough skill to be able to take a topic and split it into 5 different areas, and then ask people what they need to know about those areas, and then get on a webinar or a live broadcast and answer those questions, then you have the minimum skill level you need to do a seed launch. And I've seen this over and over. People get paid to create the product, they create a great product, and that creates an amazing business for them. But again, I would like to show you a real world example. So let's go to it.
Hey, so my name is Michael Walker, and I teach musicians how to grow their fan base and tour successfully when there's not a global pandemic happening. But right now I teach them how to grow their fan base online. And one of my biggest challenges when I was starting out was that I was disconnected from the people that I was trying to serve, in the sense that I thought that I understood their issues, but we had gotten to a point with our band where we had built an audience. We had about 24 million streams on Spotify, and I'd forgotten what it was like to be at the beginning and to be struggling just to get your first 1,000 true fans. And so when I launched my first course, I made literally 0 sales, and I didn't know how to speak to where they were at and how to really serve them best. And for me, the seed launch was really a way to have a conversation and get in tune with those people, because in a sense, it was like both of what we were saying were making sense, right? Like, so it's like I was playing the C chord and they're playing F sharp. So alone, like they make sense, but then when you put them together, it's like it's not good. And so, I think for me, the seed launch was really a way to get on those conversations with people and just listen and really hear what their biggest challenges were, what they needed help with, what they wanted, so that I could start to play in tune with them. And that's how I went from making 0 and really being $36,000 in debt with my business starting out to making our first $100,000 that year, and within 2 years growing to a 7-figure business. Was that initial pivotal point of actually listening and getting in tune with our audience. And for me, what it looked like doing the seed launch was I had learned a bunch of stuff with my band, and I basically just peeled back and shared the number one thing that we had ever learned in our career, which was essentially the thing that took us from the beginning, where we were living in our vans and sleeping in Walmart parking lots, to selling 24,000 CDs in about 4 months and touring with one of our favorite bands. And so I basically took that one strategy that I knew had made the biggest impact for my own life, and I shared that using a PLF style launch that I did live. And it was like, so you might be looking at this right now and be like, oh yeah, he has a professional setup, but it was not that way at the beginning. It was really bad. And I'm still running the exact same Like we have the replay and we're still running it, and that's still our main engine of growth. So it just goes to show that the quality is not the most important thing. And so I did that live launch, and then it really just turned into, I didn't have a course for sale on that training. It was really just me trying to provide as much value as possible. And the call to action at the end of it was to have a conversation with me personally and to submit an application. And so from there, we would have a private one-on-one session where I had an opportunity to listen to them and ask them questions like, what are your biggest challenges and frustrations right now? What are your biggest goals for the next year? What's holding you back? And really listen and like get in tune with them, so that over time we were able to create a really powerful program that I think is the best thing that's available right now on the market, because I really was able to listen and stay in tune with those people. And now it's like, our biggest issue early on was just that as it grew, it wasn't scalable because I was doing all the one-on-one sessions, and it started to get overwhelming, which is a good problem to have, like to be too in demand, but it's still a problem. And so that's when I started to hire out a team of coaches, and I trained them up. And now we have a team of 17 coaches who are doing these initial strategy sessions for us, and they're doing a lot of the fulfillment. And I just get on, a couple of sessions for each client at the biggest leverage points where I can make the most impact. And so that was, how I kind of started from scratch with the seed launch. Hugely valuable, got in tune, listened, and was able to create somewhat of a symphony of music based on actually being able to listen to the market.
So that was Michael Walker, no relation. And when he first came into my world, and he's like, I've been a touring musician my whole life. That's what I do, and I'm successful at it, but I'm about to have a baby and I'm deeply in debt, and I want to create a product. And I was like, okay. He's like, I don't know what the product is, but he figured it out. It was amazing. So the key thing, and the reason I wanted to show you that clip was how he talked about being in tune with his market. So he wasn't playing the C sharp and the F at the same time, and it wasn't discordant. And sometimes people see this seed launch, which I'm about to walk through in great detail, and they underestimate just how powerful it is. But it's crazy. It's crazy. So what the beautiful thing about this is it is one of the absolute simplest launches there is. And first, what you need to do is you need to get what I call a seed list. So this is a very it's a very small list. The reality is you need some type of a list, and what I'm looking for is 200 to 300 people on your list. Now, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Some people are like, I can't imagine a world where 300 people would join an email list to follow me. And the reality is no one starts with a list, and everyone starts somewhere. And I can remember when I used to get, like, every 4 days I would get a subscriber. And then I kept on working at it. And then every day I would get a subscriber. And then every day I would get 2 or 3 subscribers. And that's where we all start. Okay. So the way you build a list is you create what's called a squeeze page or an opt-in page. Some people also call it a landing page. So that page will have a place where people can enter their email address. And you might, and this page will offer what's called a lead magnet. The lead magnet is something that if they put their email address in, then they get that lead magnet. So Michael, I don't know what his lead magnet was, but I think it was to join his free workshop on how to be a successful touring musician, on tour hacking, he used to call it. And so you might give people a video, or you might give people a PDF, but you put together this squeeze page, this opt-in page. Now, when I started in this business, building these pages was really, really hard. You had to do it with HTML. And I'm not a coder. It would take me weeks to figure out how to build a squeeze page. These days, there are tools like ClickFunnels, like Lead Pages. There's all kinds of tools that allow you to basically click a few buttons and you have created a squeeze page. So now when you have the squeeze page, this opt-in page, Now what you need to do is you need to drive some traffic to that. Remember, our goal here, we're just looking for those 200 to 300 people. 200 to 300 people to help you get launched. And again, I'm assuming you're starting with no list and no product. I know many of you are super advanced, so bear with me, because if you're super advanced, this technique that I'm about to show you is still a great technique if you want to create a new product. So you will start to drive traffic into the squeeze page, and you can do it via, there's a number of ways, many ways you could do it. These are the 4 primary ones. You can drive it in through social. So whatever presence you have on social, if you've got a following, great. If you don't, well, you can start to build a following, and then you drive people over here and say, hey, go get my, or not, it's not go get my, it'd be like, hey, a lot of people have been asking me about like how I built up my band to have such a great big following. And the reality is there's a couple things we did back when I was sleeping in the van with all my, in the Walmart parking lot. And there's a few things we did. I like to call it tour hacking. And if you want to learn about tour hacking and how to grow your following in a big way, then I put together a little report on how I did it. Go to this page and get that report. Another way you can do it is just through word of mouth. So over time, as you start to create more value, more valuable content, people will find your way into your opt-in page. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but it actually happens. When you're online and you start publishing on an ongoing basis, people will, and you put out good content, people will spread the word for you, and you will actually get down. This isn't instant. This isn't super quick. But you will start to get word of mouth, and people will find you, find your opt-in page, come, especially if this is a really cool thing you've created, you'll get more word of mouth. Okay, so another way to do this is through what we call paid. And with paid, this is actually how Michael did it primarily, is he spent $3 a day on Facebook ads, which was like the absolute bare minimum, but he just started spending $3 per day on his Facebook ads, and he would advertise to other musicians. It's easy to select who to target in Facebook and send them into this opt-in page. So this is where he built the bulk of his audience. Another way to do it is what I just generically call communities. So there's various communities around, like I'm old school enough, so I remember forums. Forums were a big deal, and still in many markets are a big deal. There's all kinds of different communities out there. I would put Facebook groups. I mean, you could argue whether Facebook groups should be under social, but I would put it under communities. There's Facebook groups out there for just about every topic. So if you go in there, not the first day you're in a community and try to push people to your opt-in page, but if you get in there and start to deliver value and start to answer questions and help people out, and then after you've been there for a few weeks or a month, then you drop a link for the PDF, or for whatever it is, the PDF, the video series, whatever your lead magnet is. So this thing we call the lead magnet. And where that comes from is the people that join your list are called prospects or leads. And the lead magnet is something that draws potential leads to your business. So they come here, they join your list, and they are now on your list. And this is where we're looking for 200 to 300 people. Okay, you all with me so far? Let me go take a look at the comments. Okay. After you do that, then you'll create one piece. So you remember yesterday, we talked about the sideways sales letter, and there's like 3 pieces of pre-launch content. With the seed launch, everything is compressed. Everything is a little smaller and a lot simpler. So you'll basically do one piece of pre-launch content. You'll email your list about this piece of pre-launch content. And that piece of pre-launch content would be like, if this is like, say Michael, going back to Michael Walker, and it was like, get my top 12 tips about tour hacking. And maybe it was a PDF report. Now what he would do here is he would say, send an email out to his list, to his 200 or 300 people, and say, hey, I'm going to, I just shot a video. I've got a lot of questions came in about the tour hacking, about how we grew our list, or how we grew our following for our band. And so I thought I'd just shoot a quick video to go a little deeper on that. And here's the link. And you send people to this video, and the video would just go a little deeper on the tour hacking, which is, again, that was Michael's way of really growing the following. I'm just using him as an example. We've had people do seed launches in thousands of markets now. I'm just going to go a little deeper here. And so then in this video, and the video could be hosted anywhere. It could be super simple. It could be you holding your camera and your phone in front of you and shooting this. And you would shoot it. And at the end of it, it's like, it would be, hey, if this was useful for you and you're interested in going deeper, I'm going to be sending you another video in another day or two. And in that video, I'm going to, let me back up. In a few days, I'm going to be sending you another video. And if you're interested in going deeper with me, I'm actually going to create a small class. I'm going to teach a small class. People have been asking me to do this. People are super interested in growing their following. So watch for that video, and I'm going to share with you how you can join me, and I can coach you along with a very small group of other folks on how to grow their band's following. So that's your pre-launch. And then that leads into the open cart. So the open cart here is just a simple video, and the video is just going to be, this is what you get. And this is sort of the opportunity. Here's the authority, the opportunity, and this is what you get. So hey, I'm glad you're back with me. Again, it's Michael Walker. Not to confuse you, again, no relation. I'm just using Michael as an example. Hey, it's Michael. And if you know me, I've had this band. We've sold all these CDs. We've toured with so-and-so. We've got all these views on YouTube. And the way I want to share with you and a small group of folks how we built our following. And the way this is going to work is for the next 5 weeks, I'm going to do one class per week with you and just a few other people. And I'm going to be doing this interactively with you. I'm going to be teaching you everything I know. I'm going to be answering all your questions all the way through. It's almost like getting one-on-one coaching from me, but it's better than getting one-on-one coaching, because since we're going to have a small group of people, you're going to be able to learn not just from me, but you're going to be able to hear their questions. Because a lot of times people, when they want to learn something, they don't even know what questions to ask. So we're going to have this small cohort, this small group, and we're going to all work together, and you're going to be able to learn alongside. And if you don't know the right questions to ask, they're going to know it. So you're going to get your questions answered, and you're going to hear other people's questions answered. And I'm going to walk you through how to build your band's following. And it's just going to be X number of dollars, and you give the price, and you give the link, and people join. So the great thing about this offer is if you follow the basic sequence that I showed you yesterday of building up that authority and building up that social proof and building up the reciprocity and showing the opportunity, took that sideways sales letter, everything I taught you yesterday, then this sale almost makes itself. Probably the easiest sale in the world is one-on-one coaching. However, with one-on-one coaching, you're doing it one-on-one, and you don't have a leveraged life. You don't have a leveraged business. But this is almost like selling one-on-one coaching, but you get leverage because you're looking for a small cohort, a small group of people. And what you're really looking for is, you're getting a list, you're getting buyers, people to buy from you. And my goal for you is to get 20 or 30 people to buy from you. And the reason I want that is because this seed launch, it's all about you getting your first sale. Because once you make your first sale, you are in the game. And then you can just learn to get better and better and better. And so your life is completely different once you make that first sale. And so if you get 20 or 30 buyers, and the price for this can be all over the place. So, I mean, some people do this. Some people might, do a seed launch for knitting. They might do a seed launch for gathering wild herbs and creating your own skincare out of them. They might do it for touring musicians. They might do it like I did for launching your product or service. And so depending on your market, your price could be anywhere from all over the place. So I would say at the lowest end, something like this, which is going to be 5 interactive calls with you in a small group, minimum, probably about $100, just under $97. I think most people should be in the $200 to $300 range. When I did the first version for this, for how to launch a product, it was $3,000 because it was what they call a dimes to dollars argument. People spend $3,000 with me, they learn how to do a launch and make a lot more money. So a seed launch pricing can be all over the place, but let's just say, an average one might be $300 to $500. And so you get 20 people paying you at $300. That's like $6,000. All these numbers are completely made up. There's no income claims. There's nothing's typical, nothing's average. But you still, that would be for a lot of people, that'd be really great. For other people, it'd be like, well, I've got this big business, $6,000 isn't going to do much for me. But what this is going to do is it's going to get you a product, because then what you do is you take your 20 or 30 buyers, and these are your calls. And I ran out of vertical room here. So, this is supposed to be a 3 here. So, so this will actually go 5, but you'll get the idea. I ran out of room here. So what you do is you take your 20 or 30 buyers and you are going to do these trainings live with them. And it can be you could do it on Instagram Live, you could do it on Facebook Live, you can do it on any kind of webinar platform you want. You could, in the old days, when I first did this, I did these as phone calls via what we used to call a bridge line. So it shows you how long ago it was. But generally these days, you're going to want to do it live streaming in some fashion, and it doesn't have to be fancy. You can use your camera, you can use your phone, and just go live. But before you go live, what you do is you take your topic, whatever the topic is, and you divide it into 5 big areas. These are the 5 big rocks. And you can, whatever it is, if it's like yesterday, I was talking about learning how to play guitar or how to build a guitar repertoire, and it might be picking songs, and it might be strumming patterns, and it might be singing and playing, and it might be stagecraft, or putting together a repertoire and how to practice in stagecraft. And so you would you'd say, you would publish the schedule, say these are the 5 topics, and then before the first call, you send out an email to all your buyers, and you ask them, you say, hey, this first one's going to be on picking we've got this guitar repertoire class. This first call, this first training, this first lesson is going to be on picking the right songs. And tell me, if you could sit down with me for a cup of coffee, what would your top 2 questions be for me about picking the right songs? And then you take all their responses, and there's going to be common themes in those responses, and you just take the responses and you separate them out into a logical order. You put them in a logical order. Then you get on the call and you answer those questions. It's not, you would probably try to put it in some type of narrative, but you basically answer all of those questions. And then at the end of the call, you open it up for more questions. Great. So then before the second call, you send people to another survey. And there's many different types of surveys, software you can use. Some of it's free. Some of it's paid, but there's all kinds of options and it's all super, super simple to use. So you send people to another survey and you say, hey, that first call was great. We covered how to pick songs. Let me know if you have any more questions that weren't covered, please let me know. Give them a place to write to give their answer. And our next call is going to be about strumming patterns. So what's your top 2 questions about strumming patterns? So they will ask the questions, and then you do the same thing. You get on this call, and you basically answer all those questions. And you do that 5 times for those 5 calls. This is so this is the deal, is I've built this, what I would call an empire. I've sold tens of millions of dollars of my product by now. I've built up this team of 40 people. We've got over, about 40,000 people have registered for this class since this past Tuesday for the launch masterclass. So I've done okay. But it started, it's not like when I started out, I knew how to do these launches, but I didn't necessarily know how to teach them. But because none of us do. None of us are born natural teachers. Even if we train to be teachers, there's a thing called the curse of knowledge. And it's easy for us to forget what it was like to be a beginner. And so what this does is it puts you back in the mind of the beginner. That's what Michael was talking about. He's like, he learned to be in tune with his people because he was so far advanced. So I figured out how to do launches by doing launches, but I figured out how to teach how to do launches by doing this process exactly. So your product is tuned to the market. And the great thing about this is, when you do this, you'll have a great product. So even if you have an online business already, this is a great way to create a new product because it's tuned to what the market wants. And then you come out of this thing, after you do these 5 calls, I would suggest, I'm a big fan of over-delivering. Deliver more than you promise. So it's really easy to go ahead and add a Q&A call at the end. And it's also really easy to add some interviews at the end. And I'm not sure if you can still read that, but I'm just writing interviews. So when I did this, I did 5 calls that I promised. Then I did a bonus call. Then I did 5 additional interview calls. So I did like 11 calls instead of 5. So you instantly start to build this reputation as someone who over-delivers. You end up with, automatically, you've got video of all these calls, right? Because if you're on Facebook Live or Instagram Live or YouTube Live or whatever, it's all getting recorded. So you have the video of this, you have the audio recording, you have the transcripts, you have any of the Q&A, so you know what the Q&A is. You'll get some case studies. People will get results out of what you do. Those 6 people that bought from me back in 2005, some of them I'm still in contact with. Some of them went on to become case studies. So this is, and by the way, when I first did it, I only got 6 people to buy. So I underperformed. I only got 6 people to buy. So what I did was I had a bunch of other friends in the industry, people who either hadn't seen my offer or they were friends and I felt a little squeamish about asking them to pay, or I just knew they'd be really valuable to have in the program. And I wanted to have more people because more people gives you more energy on those calls and gives you more questions in these surveys. So I comped in about, I don't know, maybe another 20, 25 people. So I got it up to like 30 people or more taking the class with me. Because really, this is as much about, like I said, you're going to make some dollars. And getting sales is amazing. Getting money is amazing. But there's other huge benefits that you get. So one is you get the product, right? This is your product. You can sell this going forward. Now, when I did it, I ended up re-recording all of this. So I didn't use any of these original calls. I re-recorded everything because I'm a bit of a perfectionist about stuff like that. But you don't have to. You've got the video, the audio, the transcripts. This is it's a full course, right? And down the road, once those people get results, you can do case studies with them. It's awesome. So you get the product. You do get dollars. And it is great to make those dollars. It's great to make the first sale. It was great when Michael got his results. And I want that for you. And I also hold that in the long run, the dollars you get it will probably be the least significant advantage you get. The other thing you get is buyers. I'm sorry, I didn't leave enough space. So this is product, dollars, buyers. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and just how important that is when we get to the internal launch. This process works. And my only problem is sometimes people are like, well, first of all, they're like, that doesn't, and you can leave a comment for me if maybe you're there. You know, it seems weird to get paid here. You open cart, you're making sales. It seems weird to make money when the product's not even created yet. And I know that some people have a problem with that. I always get questions every time I teach this. That seems weird to have people pay you when they're paying you for nothing. It's not even created yet. Some people even think it feels unethical. And for those folks, I would just say that when I went to college, I paid tuition before I went to class. If I go to a play, I pay for the play before I'm in it, before I attend it. If I get a personal trainer or I take a yoga class, I pay for those before the class. When I get a newspaper subscription, I pay for the subscription before it's created. So once you start to look around, this happens everywhere in the world. I mean, I don't know if it's the majority, but a very large percentage of the things you buy, you pay for them before they're created. So this is completely in alignment. And then the other thing is people think this just seems so simple. I'm just going to skip it and go to the internal launch. I want my life to be more complicated. But this is so incredibly powerful because first of all, you get paid before you create the product. And that means you have that incentive to go ahead and create it, to actually do this because you've got the money in the bank, and you create the product that is tuned to the market. Okay, so Dan, did we have any questions coming in on the seed launch?
Yeah, we do have a few. I think some of them will get cleared up as we start moving through the other types of some of the other types of launches. But let's see. This one I thought was interesting. This one is Deterella. Oh, I apologize. I probably said that real wrong. So she's wondering, what do you do when they don't know what they don't know, and so they don't know how to ask you what they want to learn?
Well, that's why you want 20 or 30 people, because the reality is with 20 or 30 people, some of them will know, and you really only need 4 or 5 of them to really know. This is one of those sometimes, and this happens to me a lot. Sometimes I get caught up in my head and thinking and projecting out. The reality is it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Some of those folks will know. Some of those folks will know.
Cool. And I was thinking I've heard you even talk before about how you ask them, maybe what they're struggling with. Maybe they don't know the things they need to learn, but they know what they're trying to figure out.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
So that's why I got Dan here. Back me up. There you go. Boom.
Okay.
Dan's been hearing me talk about this stuff for a long time.
Yeah, just like 11 short years. Okay. How about, so people are asking, like, if a seed launch is right for all businesses or if there's certain ones it's better for. This Joe's asking, how would you apply? Would you do a seed launch if you already have an online course you've already created? Would you do a seed launch for that or something else?
Yeah, if it's an online course you've already created, then I do the internal launch, which we're about to talk about in a minute. Now, if you wanted to come up with another course, then I would absolutely do the seed launch.
Cool. Okay. How about where did I put that in my little thing? Okay, how about this one? This one, Melissa's asking, this is not exactly specifically a seed launch question, but I think it's still a good one to ask because we've had a few comments about this sort of thing. Melissa's saying, I'm wondering how involved you need to be in social media to be able to do a launch. I don't like social media. I don't want to go back.
I'm not a huge fan of social media myself. I shouldn't probably say that as someone who's teaching online marketing. It's not really my bag. And so I do it at a minimum level. So the answer is you don't have to be. It can be a great force multiplier. It can be a great way to build your following, to build your list. It can be a great way to build positioning in your market. So being seen as an expert, as a leader. It can be great for that, but do you need to do it? No, you don't need to do that.
Okay. How about this? Okay, two questions here. One's a question for me. It asked if I was barely a teenager when I started working with Jeff. No, I'm a little older than I look. And then, so how about this one? So Diane's asking, what exactly do you tell them so you haven't created the product yet? How do you phrase that? How do you say that to folks?
Okay, so in all fairness, you were barely.
I was 22.
Or 21 or 20 or somewhere in there.
22.
Okay, so what was the question? I'm sorry.
So the question is talking about, how you haven't created the product yet. And so people are loving that, by the way. Like, it totally makes sense. But we do have a question. How do you phrase that to people? How do you talk about that when you say, it hasn't been created, the whole thing, like it hasn't been created yet?
Well, yeah, so this is the value in it is that it's not like, hey, you're buying a product from me that I'm going to create. The value in it is that I'm going to coach you. I'm going to coach you in a small group, and we're going to do this over a series of 5 calls. It's live, it's interactive. You get your questions answered, you get feedback, and whatever it is that we're working on. And so it's a benefit. Think about this. Okay, think about it. Like, would you rather, if you're going to learn from, like, okay, say you're a guitar player, right? Or we'll go back to guitar. We always go back to guitar, right? So say it's guitar. Would you, and there's some amazing guitarist that you want to learn from. They have some incredible style. Would you rather watch a video course from them, or would you rather learn in person from them? You'd rather learn in person. It'd be way better, especially if learning in person means you also, after you learn in person, everything's going to get filmed and you get the video of that. It's a way better offer. That's why this converts super, super well. That's why we only need to do 1 PLC. It's basically 2 videos here or 2 lives because it is such an attractive offer. So get it out of your head that you're selling something that has been created. You're giving someone an amazing live experience, and you're not only giving them a live experience, but after it's over, you're going to give them all the recordings of it. It's just a way better offer.
Awesome. Okay, maybe just a couple more on this, and then,
Okay.
because I think once you teach the internal launch, I think some of these questions will sort themselves out.
Okay.
But how about this one? I like this one. This one, Lisa says, how do I know if there's a market for my product?
Just look and see if other people are selling things in your market. So a lot of times people think, the people that are inexperienced in business, they think it's all about inventing something. They say the way you have a business is find a need and fill it. And that's just, I think it's a little sophomoric. A lot of people that haven't created a business say that. The reality is you look around and you see what's selling, and then you find a way into that market. So when I started out in the stock market, there was a gazillion people selling newsletters about the stock market. But I came in and gave it my own unique voice and message. And when I came into this market of teaching online business building, there was already a lot of people teaching it, but they weren't teaching it the way I do. They weren't teaching my formula, and they weren't teaching it. They weren't me. Not that I'm better than anyone else, but there are some people that resonate with me and some people that resonate with other people. So I would look to see if other people are selling a similar product. And if they are, that's a good sign.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to jump in here real quick and just say this one. So we're getting a lot of questions about people asking about launching physical products and asking if that's going to be talked about. So if you stay tuned till just for a little while, our one of our case studies we're playing today is actually about selling physical products, selling, what is he selling? Selling salmon?
And steak.
Salmon and steak. So yeah, absolutely are going to be getting into physical products here. How about, let's see. So how about this one? Maybe last question on seed launch. We'll move on along to internal. So Janica just asked, if you have content in place, but you haven't sold a program yet. So she's like created a course, but hasn't been selling it already. Would you still use seed launch for this?
And the way it was phrased, if you have content, I mean, I don't know. Generally, if you have content was the content released out into the world and is it being consumed? And can you use it to generate word of mouth, to generate a list? That'd be the direction I would go probably. If you've actually just went ahead and created a course, then you're probably going to want to do the internal launch. But even then, there's this saying, a military saying, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. In other words, you have plans, and then you put something out there, and people start to interact with it, and you realize that you didn't have the right plan. And so even if you have recorded some stuff, you could do a seed launch, and that stuff could be a bonus. That stuff could inform it. Or if you do roll that out as a course, you can also deliver as a bonus some additional live calls. So then you do an internal launch that course that you've already created, but make sure you promise and deliver some extra bonus Q&A calls with folks. Okay. One last thing I want to mention is, I said you get a product, you get dollars, you get buyers, but another really cool thing you get is you learn to speak to the market. You learn what their problems are. You learn what's keeping them up at night. You learn what their hopes and dreams are. You learn what their fears are. And the value of that intelligence, of having that and finding your voice and how to speak in your market to your people is incredibly powerful. Think about how many times throughout, even we're only in lesson 2, and I've basically already anticipated people's questions. Even before I've gone over and looked at the comments, I've answered those questions ahead of time because I know my people. Even though we've never met, even though we've got 40,000 people that just joined my list to learn about this, I still know what their hopes, dreams, fears, and questions are. And the seed, all these launches will give you that, but the seed launch, if you're just starting out, is incredibly powerful. So don't underestimate the power. Okay, so let's jump to the seed launch. I'm gonna go take a look at my comments over here super quick. I'm gonna get a drink of water. And I'm playing this dance with my glasses because these are new in my life. And there's certain things I can do with them and certain things I can't.
We've been the comments have been loving the glasses today.
Really?
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I've had some adventures with my eyesight in the last couple of years. Some of you know about that. Okay, so it looks like things are rocking and rolling there. So the internal launch. So the internal launch is for well, basically, the way this flow usually goes is, go back a couple pages. Rules are made to be broken, but generally people start here and then they go to an internal launch after a seed launch, and then they go to the JV launch after that. And then a lot of times they end up going back to the seed launch after that for their next product. So the internal launch, this doesn't always happen. And frankly, for me, I went from seed launch to JV launch. And some, it's not set in stone. There's definitely flexibility in this approach. But what I've got for you, the reason that people stay in this community for years and years and even, well, we can't say decades, but over a decade, is because this isn't just about getting you launched. You hear me say that word launch all the time, but this isn't just about launches. This is about getting you a business. And it's not even about getting you a business. It's about getting you an amazing life. There you go. I mean, the little that I do on social, if you follow me there, you'll see that I am all about lifestyle as much as I am about money, lifestyle and impact. So that was a little aside. The internal launch. So this assumes that you have a list and you have a product. So if you have gone through the seed launch and you built that product, you took all those recordings, you massaged them, maybe you re-recorded some of it, but you've created this this product now, and you've been building a list. And often when you're first starting out, like you do a launch is the best way to grow a list because of the great word of mouth you get when you put together that pre-launch content, that sideways sales letter. So so this is your list here. And remember, we were back in seed launch land and we wanted to grow a list of 200 to 300 people. And those 200 to 300 people, maybe in your seed launch, because you shared that cool video that talked about your tour hacks, or talked about your guitar repertoire, or talked about this meditation practice and how it's completely different and it's way better, or it's getting you amazing results, maybe your list grew from there, from 200 to 300 to 400 to 600. And maybe you spent a little bit of money now because you made some money in that seed launch. You've made a little bit of money, so you spent some money on some paid traffic, and you're driving people, and now you've grown up your list a little bit. Now the internal launch is a classic sideways sales letter, just like we talked about yesterday. So you'll send people into PLC number 1. They're going to learn about the opportunity there. Then you'll mail people into PLC 2. So again, yesterday we talked about this pre-launch could be, let's call it 5 to 10 days. In the old days, it used to be more 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days. Now it's trending shorter because the world's changing. We're in the Netflix binge watch era. So these might just be 2 days apart or a day apart. So you'll drive people into here. And this is all about the transformation. We talked about that yesterday. Then you'll email people into here, into PLC 3. And of course, to whatever extent you have a social following, so we're going to call this social media, to whatever extent that you do have a social following, you're also going to be sending people into each one of these, right? Like even, if you look at Insta, I'm not like the most prolific on Insta, but even I have been pushing people for the last couple of days with my Insta story into this masterclass. So we're into transformation, ownership, and then eventually into your open cart to make some sales. So this is a classic sideways sales letter. Classic sideways sales letter that leads into an open cart and makes sales for your product, whether it's a course, whether it's a membership, a mastermind, whether it's a piece of art. Well, we should hear from Mary Gilkerson sometime soon in the next few days, and you'll get to see how she used it to sell her paintings. It could be your book. And so people come through your open cart, and now they become buyers. They've bought your product. Now, in my business, we have a little distinction. We call people owners. We have from day one in 2005, but we have product launch formula owners. To me, it conveys a different feeling. And I want to think about my folks as buyers. I want to think about them as owners. And in fact, in my company, we don't have that many hard and fast rules. But one of my hard and fast rules is we always capitalize owners. So, and when we're slacking back and forth or texting back and forth or emailing back and forth in the team, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass to capitalize owners, but those are our people. That's our community, is our PLF owners. And so that's just a little distinction. You might want to think about taking it on. I just offer that as a possibility. But one of the things I want to focus on is the most valuable asset that you will have ever in your business is not your social media. I don't care if you have 1 million people following you on Insta. That can go away at any point. Your social can, you can lose your account. The social platform could go out of business. They could change the rules. Like, used to be Facebook page. If you had a Facebook page and you put something up there, people would see it. Then they changed the rules one day and people would no longer see it. The rules change all the time in social. So social is not an asset. Your product isn't even, it's great to have a product, but the true asset that you have in your business is your list. This is the true asset. And that's why you want to always be building your list. You'll see I have this on a lot of these pages. Always build your list. It's also always be launching, always be building your list. Because your list is your asset and the launch is what fuels your business. So it's ABL, ABL. Always be building your list and always be using your list to launch. This is your asset. This is the lifeblood of your business. So your list is the most valuable asset, but an even more valuable asset is your list of owners or buyers. And you will treat these lists differently. And this is very easy technology in any list management system there is. It's very, very easy to have this technology, it's not easy to have it. You automatically have it, whatever list host you use, and they use it different ways, but you have 2 different lists. And this list, the buyer's list, is going to be worth, where can I write this? This is a big one. On average, this has been my personal experience, 15 times more than what the prospect list is. These are people that haven't bought from you. These are people that have bought from you. This is 15 on a per person basis. So let's say you had a list. You've been in this business now for a few years. You've been working hard. You've built up a list of 15,000 people. And you've also been working really hard and made some sales, and you've made 1,000 sales, and you have 1,000 buyers. And if these numbers are too big for you, if you can't imagine that, then let's just say you had 1,500 on your big list, and you had 100 buyers. Okay. Then let's say you decide to come out with another product and you put together a sideways sales letter for that product. You would make as many sales to these 100 as you do to these 1,500 on average. This is just my experience. On average, 15 times more powerful. So taking people through the sideways sales letter and converting them into owners and converting them to your world, your community, is in the long run enormously powerful for you. So, part of this, the beauty is, yes, you get money. So here's all the things you get. If in the seed launch you made some dollars, typically you're going to make a lot more dollars in the internal launch. It's just, you got a bigger list, it's more powerful, boom. You get those buyers who are worth 15 times more. You also get this thing, and as we go through case studies, I can't remember if you heard about it yesterday, but you'll hear it more and more as we go through case studies, that we call the launch echo. The launch echo is, this builds tremendous authority and positioning for you. And when you do this and you really put it together the way I teach it, and you deliver that value, then all kinds of other great things will come to you that will end up in the long run dwarfing the money. Things like speaking gigs and attracting partners and attracting team members and attracting media and attracting sponsorship, on and on. The echo is incredible. And then the other thing you get is you get this sideways sales letter. So you can take this, once you do it once, you can reuse this sideways sales letter. It's an incredible asset to have. You could relaunch, or you could use it in a JV launch. So I'm doing this live for you because I like doing it live and it's fun. But if I had done these as videos, I could use these over and over and over again. So the sideways, just having this as an asset in your business is incredibly powerful. And in fact, Michael Walker talked about, he used those same recordings and he's been using them for years now. So it's super, what I'm trying to get is, you know, we can talk about money all day long, but we're really here to build that business for you. And you have to think in terms of all the assets that you get. So buyers, super powerful. That launch echo is super powerful, and having the sideways sales letter, super powerful. So did we want to go to questions for that, or should we go straight to JV?
I think let's jump straight over to JV, and then maybe take some questions on kind of the overall whole process.
Okay,
with that.
Sounds good. So again, in seed launch, you're starting out. You don't have either you don't have a list, but really you don't have a product. You might have a list, but you don't have a product. You want to get paid in advance for that product. Internal launch, you have the product ready. You already have something that's selling. Maybe you've got something that's been selling for years. How do you launch something that's been selling for years? Well, you create some new bonuses, so you slightly change the offer, then you do this, and boom. But the internal launch is more if you have the product and if you've got a list. The JV launch is, well, that's where it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. This is where the results can just grow in an extraordinary fashion. So here we go with the JV launch. So let's talk about the joint venture launch, or the JV launch for short. I like to think of this launch as pouring gasoline on a fire. You've got this nice little fire going with your seed launch, your internal launch, and you take a can of gasoline or petrol, for those of you outside the States, pour it on there, and it just blows up in a big way, in a good way. So this launch, it requires more work, but the results can be absolutely breathtaking. What you're doing is you're using the power of other people's lists, because whatever market you're in, there are other people, other leaders, other experts, other gurus who've done the hard work of building up a big following. And this is where those people tell their followers, their email list, about your launch. They'll mail their people and they'll say, go check out Sally's launch. Go check out Fred's launch. And when they send those emails, those people will click through to your page and see your launch. Now, why would they do that? Because if you end up making sales to the people they send over, then you'll pay them a commission. This ends up being a win-win-win, because the people that go through your launch and buy from you, they're going to get the great experience of being one of your clients. And of course, because you've probably gone through a seed launch and you've gone through an internal launch, you've got a great product and a great launch and a great system. You followed the formula. So the people that buy from you get a great experience. You get a great experience because you get so many more clients. And then your partner gets a great experience because they've helped out the people on their email list, and they make money from it when you pay them commissions. And if you reflect back on those mental triggers from lesson one, think about like that authority trigger, that even that social proof trigger. Well, what if you're in a given market? Maybe it's learn guitar, and you're someone who wants to learn guitar, and all of a sudden you start getting all these emails about Sally, who's doing the launch about how to play guitar. All those emails from all those different people coming into someone's inbox, massive social proof, creates massive authority. And think about it. If you get 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, it doesn't, you know, just think about all those people mailing their lists. You could have 3 partners with 10,000 people on each of their lists, all of a sudden mailing into your launch. Now, for me personally, I did internal launches for years, and then I did seed launches. The biggest launch I'd ever done was $110,000 in a week. And that was an amazing number. It was incredible when I did that. But the first time I did a JV launch, I did over $600,000. So I went from best launch ever, 110,000, best internal launch, 110,000, up to $600,000. And the second time that I did a JV launch, $3.7 million. So when I say pouring gasoline on a fire, when I say blowing up your results and making them so much bigger, that's what the JV launch is all about. Now, again, I love to teach from example, so let's hear from the real world right now.
Hi, my name is Dylan Frost. My market is teaching people how to be a better Amazon seller, or teaching people how to start selling on Amazon. So let me give you a little context here. I had a successful business selling physical products on Amazon. And then I discovered Product Launch Formula. It was the first time I'd ever learned anything about marketing, about sales psychology, about mental triggers, all that different stuff. I had never been exposed to it before. I didn't go to college or anything like that. So there was never a way for me to be introduced to these things and learn them. But when I learned it from Jeff, when I learned it in Product Launch Formula, it totally changed everything for us. So we had a successful business selling on Amazon. But what we did after learning from Jeff was we decided, okay, we're definitely going to create an information program to teach other people the same kind of successes and strategies that we've learned around Amazon, to teach them how to build their own successful Amazon business. But here was the thing. We knew we wanted to create this program, but we didn't have an email list. We didn't have any kind of social following. I didn't even use Facebook at the time. And so we didn't know how we could reach out to the audiences, how we could get this program in front of people so that they would purchase it. So the solution for us was to use JV partners, to find someone else that would be willing to take our program and promote it. So before we ever even created the program, before we ever created the course, what we did was we identified some people in the Amazon space, in the Amazon marketing space, and started reaching out to them. And we told them about our business, our Amazon business, and the success of our Amazon business, and telling them, hey, we could build this course, this program, and if we did, would you be willing to promote it? We asked a whole lot of people, and a whole lot of people said no, which is fine. We did identify one person who said yes, he would. He enjoyed our story. He wanted to be able to share it, and we entered a partnership where he would promote it, and he would earn 50% of the sales on commission for promoting it. So we had someone that would. He just had a Facebook group with like a few hundred people in it. That's what he had access to be able to promote it, but that was good enough for us. We created the program. He promoted it, and it's interesting. At the time, we had nothing. Our course was actually made. Our website was a Wix website. Our course was actually hosted in Wix. We didn't have a payment processor, so we borrowed the guy that was promoting us, and he just had like a 400 or 500 person Facebook group. That first launch, that JV launch, did about $130,000 in sales, and it's what got us started in the information marketing space. So now we had two successful businesses, our Amazon business and the information marketing business. And one thing led to another. That's the success of that launch with him, and the success that he had there. Other people noticed it and recognized it in the Amazon space. So we picked up more JVs and more JVs. So the next launch did 300,000, then 600,000, then a million, then 1.2 million, then 1.4 million, then 1.6 million, and it's continued to evolve and grow from there. At this particular point, our last 10 launches in a row have done over $1 million through the snowball effect that's generated from that very first one, where we didn't have a list, we didn't have any way, like nothing like that ahead of time. And some tips around JV partners and JV promotions that I really want to give is to be able to find great JV partners. You have to provide them some sort of value. That's the best way that you can pick up great JV partners. If they don't know who you are, if they've never met you before, is if you can provide them some sort of real authentic value, then they're much more likely to want to work with you and enter in a partnership with you, where you can create this great relationship that can benefit both of you. So what does that look like? I can give you some examples of things that I've done before to secure JV partnerships. So one thing is, our program is built around teaching people how to sell on Amazon or how to better succeed with selling on Amazon. So many of the JV partners we would reach out to are people with Amazon businesses. So we would help and support them, identify things that would help, that we could recognize because we were knowledgeable about Amazon, that would support and help their Amazon business, right? So we would do free consulting or help them in any sort of way to build up that reciprocity, which Jeff teaches a lot about reciprocity. And then that would help work us into the relationship where they would be willing to work with us, right? So it seems like things like that. If you can find people in your space or your niche, provide them some sort of value through any means necessary, build that partnership, that relationship, and then they're way more likely to promote you. So that's a big tip for me there.
So we have our official mascot here. If you were with us yesterday, you got introduced. This is Nugget. She's our rescue kitten that Dan rescued from the side of the highway when she was just 4 weeks old. And she's been having some fun here at the secret headquarters. We normally, a lot of times during these live master classes, we have visits by squirrels out on the deck. Dan, the first time was like, so right now I'm looking at this camera and there's these windows right here, or a French door. So big windows, and there's a deck, and there's often squirrels and chipmunks playing out there. And so the first time we ever did one of these launches and we do these live broadcasts, I'm sitting there trying to talk to the camera. There's squirrels playing and playing and playing. And I'm like, okay, hold on for a sec, folks. I'm getting distracted by these squirrels. And so Dan ended up hooking up a squirrel cam. You want to show them the squirrel cam. So that's a squirrel cam we have hooked up for you. But, and when a month ago, when we were shooting all these case studies, we had squirrels and chipmunks just every single day out there, but that was more like late September, and now we're in November and we don't seem to have many squirrels. But we do have Nugget. We've been trying to figure out how to hook up a camera to her, maybe a little GoPro to go on her head. And
the problem is that the GoPro probably weighs as much as she does.
Yeah. So we completely lost our heart here to Nugget. Dan's had her about 4 weeks. She was half a pound and literally on the side of the highway in the middle of the desert when we got her, and just skin and bones. But yeah, we completely lost our heart to her. So there's Nugget. Okay.
And she's out. She's like, dude, we got to get to the content, man.
Yeah, we got to get to the content. Enough of that. So the JV launch, you just heard how Dylan, he broke all the rules. He came in and he went straight to a JV launch. And the way he did that was he approached a lot of people to partner with him, and he found really one. But that built this business, and now he's done $1 million launch after $1 million launch. And like I said, this is where the numbers start to get really, really big. So some of you, if you've already got a nice, we'll get to that in a minute. First, I want to show you how it works. So this is not too dissimilar to the internal launch. And I saw a question in the comments. I forget the name, but someone said, can you use the Sideways Sales Letter here? And the answer is absolutely. That's one of the reasons the internal launch gives you the place to test to make sure you've got a great Sideways Sales Letter, and then you can take it and reuse it in your JV launch. So the way this works is that here again, this is your opt-in page or your squeeze page. And this is where you have a lead magnet. It could be a PDF that people get. It could be a video. And then people get on your list. And I'm going to throw another term at you. And it's what we call a launch list. And it's really just a list, an email list, but it's an email list that's built specifically for a launch. You can still use it after the launch, and you will use it after the launch, but it's built specifically within the launch. So people come to your opt-in page and they join and they opt in, and now they're on your launch list. So the difference here is you have partners who are mailing for you. They're affiliate partners or joint venture partners. So this is a JV launch, which stands for a joint venture launch. A joint venture is you're working together with another business, or you could call it an affiliate launch. Really, these terms are interchangeable, okay? So you have people, and so I'm actually in a JV launch right now. So maybe some of you came into my world a few days ago, had never heard of me, but you came into my world because you got an email from Reed. And give Reed a shout. If you came in here through Reed Tracy, give him a shout out in the comments. Or some of you might have come in through Ocean Robbins. If you came to me, learned about me in this masterclass through Ocean, give him a shout out. Then many of you came in from Denise and Mark, Duffield Thomas. And plenty of you came in from Stu McLaren's been in my communities, and he's in my mastermind. He's been in my mastermind since forever, like 6 years or something like that. Lots of you might have come in from Christian Michelson. He's been one of our partners for many, many years. And some of you just heard from Dylan Frost talking about his affiliate launches. He's actually been telling people about the masterclass. He's been mailing his list. So these, and there's dozens of more of people that are mailing about this masterclass. They're emailing about that. So I just want to go over the comments and see if any of you came in through any of those folks. And yep, there you go. Boom. There you go. So Paul and Melissa, Stu, yep, Denise, Stu, thank you. Sarah Cordner, I didn't even know Sarah was mailing. That's awesome. Ocean, yep. Tembi. And so these people mail, and then those folks, not all of them will join your list, but for us, typically about 49% of the people landing on this page from this traffic are joining this list. And now this list, we're at, when I got on this morning, it was like 39,000 and change. So by now it's probably at 40,000 people have joined this list. And that's since this past Tuesday. So here we are on Saturday, and we've had 39,000 people join our list in those days. This is how you can grow a list very, very quickly. Okay, so then you take that launch list, and now it's like a sideways sales letter now. Now that launch list, we mail them about PLC 1. And then you would mail about PLC 2, and then you mail about PLC 3, and then you'd mail about PLC 4. Now, what happens is that when these were your top partners who are really all in, they'll actually mail about PLC 1. And so it'll still go to an opt-in page, and so go to the opt-in page, and then they'll get PLC, then they'll be on the launch list, then they'll go to PLC 1. Then when it's time for PLC 2, many of them will mail again and again and again. So the way this math can work, this is scary because I'm about to try to do some math without hold on, just I'm going to get my phone. Here we are. We're going to pull up my calculator just in case I screw this up. I'm pretty good at math, but when I'm on camera, it's more difficult. But say you had 5 partners, okay? You have 5 partners that you convince to support you. And let's say each one of those has 10,000 people on their list. And I know, again, many of you are just starting out and you're like, I can't conceive of having 10,000 people on my list. But can we just all agree that such people exist in the world? I mean, you know, if you go on Instagram, you can see how many followers someone has, and you can see there's people on Instagram that have tens of thousands of followers or hundreds of thousands or millions. So there are people that have big followings. So let's just say you have 5 partners and they each have 10,000 people on their list. And let's say they mail their list about your launch. And maybe they get, let's just be super conservative and say they get 1,000 people to click through and come to your page. And you have an opt-in rate. We're just going to use 50% just because, well, let's be conservative. It's not too hard to come up with an opt-in page that does 40% opt-in. So in other words, right now we're running at 49%. Actually, it's 49.8, so it's really very close to 50 for us. But let's just be more conservative and say your page has 40%. So of those 1,000 people that come here, you get 400 people to join your list. Now, since there's 5 of them, that's 5 times 10,000, 5 times 1,000, 5 times 400. So you actually have 2,000 people join your list. But that was just for PLC number 1. Then if they all mail for PLC number 2, the results will go down some, but they won't go to 0. So say you get 1,000 to come for PLC 2 and another 1,000 for PLC number 3. All of a sudden you have 4,000 people you just added to your list. This is how a JV launch can just blow up, because you can go from 0 to 4,000. Well, no, you're probably not going to have 0 when you start this, because you'll have been in business and you'll have started building your list, but you'll have 4,000 new people join your list just in a matter of days. Now, the reality is, I was super conservative with that number. I was pretty darn conservative with that number. And many people have bigger lists than that. And you could have more than 6 partners. But I mean, this is all, I'm just making numbers up. Some of us will have a lot more partners, and some of us we'll start off with 1 partner or 2 partners. But this is how you can blow up your business in a great big way. Now, again, this isn't where, if you've got no list, no product, you're not going to start here. You're going to do that seed launch, and you're going to use that seed launch to create that first product. You're going to make the product better. Then you're going to do an internal launch and get your sideways sales letter figured out. But in that time, you're also out building connections in the industry. You've got that launch echo going on from your internal launch. So you've started to build positioning, and that's how you attract partners. And this is the way you could just create. I mean, you heard it. My best launch ever, I did $106,000 launch. Then I followed that up a year or 2 later with a $110,000 launch. And they were mind-blowing for me. I mean, I just couldn't believe that I could do $110,000 in a week's time. It was just unbelievable. I didn't come from a lot of money, and my family, I'd grown up, we didn't have a ton of money. It was unbelievable. But then I did that first JV launch, and then my results were 600,000. So I've been in business for 8 years, built up to this launch that did $110,000, thought I was on top of the world, it couldn't possibly get better. And then I do this JV launch, and do $600,000. And then another one that does 3.7 million. And the one that did 3.7 million did $1 million in sales in 53 minutes. In the first 53 minutes of that launch, it took us 53 minutes to get to $1 million. That's because I had this kind of support. And you know what? Reed doesn't have 100. His list isn't 10,000. It's way bigger. Ocean's list, not 10,000. It's way bigger. So the power here is crazy. So if the seed launch was some dollars, and the internal launch was a lot of dollars, this can be pretty crazy dollars, okay? And then you also get this buyer list. So here's your buyers. Everything is bigger in a JV launch. When you do it right, of course, you follow the formula, you get buyers. You also get that launch echo, and it's a lot bigger. You've built your you've built your list in a great big way, and then you get this amazing positioning. Because think about it. If you had a week ago, you hadn't ever heard of me. And then, but you're following Reed and you have a lot of respect for Reed. And you think Reed Tracy's the CEO of Hay House Publishing. And you think very highly of Reed. I think he's like one of the most awesome human beings I know. Ocean Robbins, incredible person. The Food Revolution Network. And doing incredible work. Ocean's been in my mastermind for 6 or 7 years. Denise and Mark, they're probably the best partners I've ever had in the history of my business. They're just incredible partners. And they're sending an email, and they're not just sending an email saying, hey, go look at this thing. They're saying, Jeff Walker changed my life. You saw Reed's emails. Jeff Walker changed my life. And he's teaching a free masterclass. If you want to go check it out, it's going to be amazing. So that positioning, in other words, basically it's authority. It's me being seen as the expert in the market. These folks transferred all of their authority or much of their authority to me. Does that make sense? So the positioning and the echo you get from one of these is crazy. Now, I know questions we're going to get is, why do they do this? So if you're just starting out in this world, the reason they want to do this is because they know I'm going to take care of you. They're going to, if you're one of Reed's followers, they know if they send into my masterclass, I'm going to give you a great experience. So they trust that I'm going to give you a great experience. And then if you're interested in having an online business, then I can give you incredible value. I can give you a whole education in this week. So they trust me because they've known me for a very long time. And if a person, let's just say it's Sally. Sally's on Reed's list. They click through, they join this list, they go through the sideways sales ladder, and then Sally ends up buying, then I will track that back to Reed and give him a commission. And so it's a win-win because Reed doesn't have a training on how to launch your online business. And this way he can provide that training to his people and he'll still get compensated for it. And so people are like, okay, one of the big questions, I guarantee it's already in the comments, I'm sure, is what kind of commission? What is this commission? And the commission is typically, I'm just going to write it here. It's typically for a digital training, 30 to 50% of the selling price would be the commission that you would pay for the affiliates. Like, how do you track this? What's the technology? There's all kinds of different tools you can use to track this, but it's all done automatically. And it's not creepy. It's not like Facebook kind of tracking. It's just you come in here and when you join, our system, basically our shopping cart system says, okay, this person that joined the list came in through Reed or through Ocean or through Denise or through Stu. So the software tracks all that. It just does it. That's the job. And then one of the things I've told you about some fancy numbers here. But the margin, this is the downside. There's two downsides of a JV launch. One downside is it's more work. So managing these relationships and all of this takes more work. That's one good reason to have the internal launch and reuse your sideways sales letter, because you don't have to do that work. Because this work is probably as much as this work. So do the internal launch first, get this done, then come back, build these relationships, and it'll be awesome. So it's more work, it's more complex. This is the most complex launch. Then the other downside is your margin will drop because you're paying these commissions. So typical, if you're doing a seed launch, probably most of those dollars in sales that you make, you're going to get to keep. That's the difference between sales and profit. Or other places in the world, they say turnover and profit. So the difference between sales or turnover, sales is how much you sell, the dollars that come in, profits the dollars you keep. And so in a seed launch, your margin might be close to 100% because you're going to have very, very low costs. In an internal launch, your margin's still going to be super high generally, unless you spend a lot of money on paid traffic. But in a JV launch, your margin drops because you're going to pay 30 to 50% of your sales. So when I did that launch that did $3.7 million, I've probably paid out $1.5 million in commissions. And so your actual profits drop, but it's still a crazy amount of money. It was just still a life-changing amount of money. So that is the JV launch. Those are the three primary types of launches. This is a launch you do generally if you've already put together an internal launch and you've built some relationships in the industry of people that are interested in promoting, but it can just, the results are crazy. So Dan, questions?
Oh yeah, we got a bunch of questions. Okay, here's, I really like this one. This was a good one. This is from Aaron. Aaron's saying, can you share the value these people got from funneling people here, from the JV sending people here? The value that they got beyond the commissions.
Yeah, so the value that they get is that they have provided a service to the people that are following them. So, some of you, I was watching the comments and some of you were saying, so-and-so sent me and basically something like, I'm really happy about that. I'm really stoked. I'm really thankful that so-and-so sent me. So once you start to build up your online business and you start to build your list, you will have the opportunity to be this person sending into other people's launches. And it can be a great way to make extra revenue, to make extra money. But it's also, the reality is once you build up a following, you're not going to be able to ever create enough products to completely satisfy their needs and wants and desires. So in this case, Reed's got, he's got a publishing company and his people are publishing books. In fact, his company, published my book. And they got, I don't know how many books coming out a year, but many, many, many books per year. They sell millions of books. But those authors, at the end of the day, if you're an author, there's almost no author actually makes a living from their books. That's just the reality of book publishing, because you just, you got a hardcover book, you're making a couple dollars per book. Most books only sell a few thousand copies. It takes you a couple of years to write the book. The math works out so that unless you're J.K. Rowling, you're not making a living from selling books. So Reed wants his people to make a living because he wants them to write another book so he can publish their next book. So by sending them into my masterclass, his authors and all of those authors have something, they can create a product. Especially it's mostly all nonfiction authors. And every nonfiction author, and I know we've got a lot of authors here, you should be thinking about an online course or an online membership site, because I don't want to break your heart, but you're not going to make a living from your book. No one does. Or 0.1% of people out there, authors, actually make a living from their book. The math's just not in your favor. Even if you sell 10,000 copies, and even if you have a great deal with your publisher and you get $3 or $4 a copy, you still made $40,000 and it took you 2 years to write the book. That's the reality of books. And so when you have that book, you use that book to build your following, to build your list, and then you put together a course or a membership site or a training program or a coaching program or an event, and then you sell that with the Sideways Sales Letter. So Reed, the value he's getting is he's helping his authors actually make a living from their work. So Dan, I think I sort of probably answered a few questions there. That was pretty tricky of me, right? I answered that question. Yeah, I answered that question, but I also was speaking to all you authors out there because that's the reality. I know I've got a lot of authors and I love books and I love authors, but the reality is, yeah, do a launch for your book, sell as many books as you can, but then you need to create something on the back end to actually make a living.
I love this too, like just proving this in action right now. We've got Harriet in the comments who said, furthermore, I just wrote down the names of your JVs and have already looked them up. So you can watch this happen and while we're doing it. Okay, how about this? This one's been asked by a bunch of people so far, but JP was one of the first ones to say it. So JP is saying, looking for ideas of how to find JV partners.
Yeah, so the way you find, if you're, whatever market you're in, you should be following the leaders in that market. And those are your potential JV partners. So the easiest way is if you just go to whatever your topic is, go to Google and do a search on it. What would be the number one search if you were searching, like if it was learn guitar or learn meditation or learn how to speak Spanish? Go search at Google, go search at Facebook, go search on Insta. On Facebook and Insta, you can find the groups, you can find the people that have got the big followings. It's really easy to identify who they are. And you should be doing that no matter where even if you're at seed launch stage, you should be following the top people in your market and watching what they're doing and watching their marketing. And the reality is then you'll see some of them doing a Sideways Sales Letter, right? Because this is the way the top people get to be the top people, is the Sideways Sales Letter. And those are the people that understand this are the people that are great potential partners. And then over time, you find a way, it's like Dylan talked about, you find a way to build value for those people. And it can be any number of ways, but it's just because this is online doesn't make it different from any other thing in the world. You build a relationship with them the way you build a relationship with anyone, by gradually getting to know them and building value for them.
This is, I like this one here. This is from Carla. Carla's thinking advanced here. She says, I have some friends, or actually it's a couple questions. I do want to take that question from Carla, but that's not the question I meant to ask right now. We're coming back to you, Carla. Okay, Loretta had this one. Loretta's thinking advanced. On a JV launch, it seems like getting the initial interest of partners can be a challenge. Does it make sense to use a Sideways Sales Letter approach to talk to them?
Oh man, you stole my super secret segment. Yeah, actually, everything.
Well, we just say, hey, you're going to just wait for the super secret.
Yeah, we could just say that. We could just say wait for the super secret, but there'll be more in the super secret. That's not the only thing in the super secret. But one of the things that everything you've learned up to this point, you can use to make yourself attractive to partners and to attract those partners to you and get them interested in promoting for you. So the whole idea of a sequence, the whole idea of the opportunity, transformation, ownership, but especially those mental triggers. And also get out there and do an internal launch, because the really smart people in your industry, they're always watching for the up and comers. And it's just that if you're in business, that's part of your job, is to watch for the up and comers. And so they're watching for, and if they see you doing a good Sideways Sales Letter, they'll be like, oh, okay, this person gets it. This is someone to watch. I got to keep my eye on this person. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Carla, now it's your turn. Okay, so with talking about potentially moving out, you're not just talking about JV launches now, but talking about kind of all the three different type of launches. That seem cool?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, Carla. Carla's saying, I have some friends in my network who would be keen to help me with a JV launch, but as my first launch, should I wait until the product is better to use them? As in, should I do a first seed launch without the JV people for the first time?
Yes, I would. Because so first of all, it's great that you've got potential people. You are so set up. It's amazing. It's awesome. And one of the things that is you want to treat your partners' lists like gold, like platinum, like the most valuable thing in the world, even more valuable than your list. So you want to test out. First of all, if you don't have the product made, go through the whole sequence. Do the seed launch, and then do an internal launch and figure out, get your sideways sales letter nailed so it's tested. So you've tested it on your list before you ask someone else to mail. So it's almost like you're taking care of their property more than you take care of your property. That's sort of the golden way to have success in business. So absolutely. Get the product nailed with a seed launch, then build. I know this sounds like a lot, but you can move through it. I mean, it might take you the next year to do this, but do that seed launch, get the product nailed, do an internal launch, get the sideways sales letter nailed, and then do that JV launch, and you'll come out to the world in a huge way.
Awesome. Okay, here's an interesting one. I always love the way you talk about this. So Pam's asking, and we actually had a couple people who said similar things, but Pam's asking, wouldn't potential JV partners see you as competition? Why would they want to help their competition?
The ones that would see you as competition are not the ones that you want for partners. In this world, the way I look at it is people are not they're not competition, they're future partners. And for whatever reason, there's this term I invented called abundance juice. I actually went and registered that domain. You can go look and see I registered it years ago, the abundance juice. And what I've learned is that in this industry, that the way you grow this business, your business, the whole business, is you grow the pie. You make the pie bigger so everyone can have a bigger piece of the pie. And that's the way I think, that's the way I approach my business. And that's the way I think you should. Since you're asking this question, it worries me a little bit about your mindset in this, because the reality is, yes, some people will see you as competition. They're absolutely. But if you look at all the top leaders, like in my world, this online business building world, almost all of them have promoted for me at one time or another, because they know that I teach launches better than they do. They know that I've got the goods. They know I'm going to take care of their people, and they can mail for me, and they can get 30 or 40 or 50% of the sale and not have to do any of the work. So if you look at this, could you classify Stu as a competitor? Yeah, you sure could. Could you classify Christian as a competitor? Sure, you absolutely could. The reality is these two guys have been in my mastermind learning from me, and frankly, I've been learning from them. Oh, geez, Christian's been in my mastermind since 2010. Stu's been in my mastermind since like 2013.
Stu's actually in the comments right now.
Is he really? Yeah. So there you go. So the world we live in. I mean, if you own a gym and there's a gym across the street, then someone's probably not going to join both of those gyms. However, I bet you half my people have bought something from Stu, has bought his Tribe course. And I bet you half of Stu's people have bought my Product Launch Formula coaching program. That's just the way the world works. And, if you can come at this from a standpoint of abundance versus scarcity, I taught you about scarcity. I taught you about triggers. But if you can come at this from abundance instead of scarcity, it will completely change not only your business, but it's going to change your life.
Okay. Let's see. How you feeling on time? We got a bunch of questions. We can take more now. We could wait after we've gone through some of the case studies.
How about, let's take one more question and then go to case studies.
Okay. How about okay, well, this is the quick one, so we might move on past this one. Might be more than one. Okay, this one's from Katya, but a couple people have asked this. Katya's asking, I have a product, but I don't have a list. What kind of launch is good in this case?
You have a product, but you don't have a list. Is that what I heard?
Correct.
Well, then what type of launch is good for it? It would be an internal launch. Yeah, it'd be an internal launch. I would start building that list and I would do it all the different ways I showed you, and then get to a launch quickly.
Okay, how about this one? Susan's asking, do you use the same sideways sales letter each time, each launch? Do you refresh it between launches?
Both. I mean, I have, we have case studies of people that have used the sideways sales letter for years. You know, Michael was just talking about what Michael was talking about a seed launch, but then he used his for years and he's still using it like 3 years later. I have certainly used a sideways sales letter for multiple years, but there are times when it gets to be time to refresh it, and you'll know when it's time to refresh it. So it's a bit of both.
Okay, actual last question. Pip's asking, what if you have a course that you sold in the past, but it barely sold? But the people who bought it really liked it. What do you do? How do you reinvigorate it? Do you improve it? What do you do?
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations that if people really loved it, then you're way ahead of the game. And now it's a problem of selling it. And hello, sideways sales letter. You know, generally if something doesn't sell, if it's a great product, but it doesn't sell, you're not articulating the true value of the offer. You're not capturing enough people's attention, and you're not articulating the value of the offer, the value, how it's going to change people's lives. And you do that with opportunity, transformation, ownership. So it's great that people love the product. You've done a huge amount of the hard work. Now you just need to do the sideways sales letter. So with that said, I think we have a cool, very cool case study. I think we shot this one just last year, last fall. And I think you're going to love this one. There's I've seen a lot of these questions coming in, and a lot of them are more about, not about marketing, but about what's going on in your head. And I get it, because what's going on in your head, we have to get our head on straight before we can create anything out in the world. And this is a story of someone who created something amazing in the world, but embedded in here is so many lessons on mindset. I think you're gonna love it. I'm here with Elliot Connie, and Elliot is a psychotherapist who came to me through a good friend of mine, Bill O'Hanlon, who is actually, and there's another case study. If you go and dig into our case studies, you'll see the case study with Bill O'Hanlon. In any case, Elliot, thanks for joining us. Can you just tell folks a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yeah, so thank you for having me. My name is Elliot Connie, and I'm by trade, I'm a psychotherapist. I have a practice in Texas. And more recently, I have transitioned to teaching psychotherapists how to do something called solution-focused brief therapy. And I offer courses online to do that, which is pretty exciting and awesome. I also travel around. I've been to about 30 countries teaching people how to do this. So it's a lot of fun in my business.
And so you've recently, I mean, you had this practice, you saw a lot of clients, and then you recently, well, you came into my world a few years ago, and you've made this big leap, big transition.
Right. Yeah, so when I was in graduate school, I knew I wanted to have a practice because I knew I wanted to be free to practice however I wanted instead of being told by my bosses how to do psychotherapy. And I got really obsessed about building the biggest practice I could. But I'm someone, I really want to reach people. I really want to make a difference. And I really want to, do my part of eradicating human suffering if I could. And I realized that no matter how hard I worked, I was only going to be able to reach this many people in my practice. And if I could figure out a way to reach people online, then in essence, all of the psychotherapists I taught, their clients would also experience a difference. And that's what motivated me to transition my work online, to take some of the load off of me and reach many more people with hope and positivity, which is I think, the greatest drug to get addicted to.
I agree. It's a great one. It's a great one. So tell me about how you go from being a therapist, a psychotherapist, and working with clients to building a training business for other psychotherapists. And how do you launch something like that? And
Perseverance. That's how I describe it. Like, I can remember. Is it okay? Can I be specific here? Is that all right?
that'd be great.
I can remember thinking like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And I'm reading online, like, you got to have an email list. And I've got no email list. And it's like 2016, 17, whatever year. And I got no email list. I was like, if I can get to 100 people, if I can get my email list to 100 people, I'll be like the most famous person ever. And I got my email list to 100 people just with a newsletter. And then when I got to 100 people, I was like, if I can get my email list to 500 people, just sending out a newsletter and just sharing, I was like, okay, that'll be awesome. And then if I can get my list to 1,000 people, like, there's a comma in my email list, like, this will be great. And I hit 1,000 people, and I just kept going. Like, I just kept working at it. And I would offer a course, or I would offer a workshop, or I would offer a thing. I would do a live event that people had to fly to me, or I would do an online thing, but I would just keep going. And I noticed that none of what I did worked, but none of what I did failed. So every single thing, I learned something, or I grew at least a bit. And my goal was to grow my email list. So even if I just did one new person came on my list, that would have been great. And before I knew it, I had it took about 3 years, but I had about 26,000 people on my email list. And I was just like, wow, like that. Now I'm reaching people that I couldn't have reached any other way. But I just kept persevering, and I kept thinking about value that I could offer to psychotherapists, and then just sharing what the value was. And you just keep doing, you just keep going.
I love it because since you're in my world, you know that a lot of people, they get stopped before they ever get started because they think, I can't have an email list, or I don't have a huge list. But I love that you just had this, wow, if I could just have 100, that'd be so amazing. And then
That's actually where it started. If I could have 100 people, that's great. Because I knew I did what everybody else did, right? You start your email list and you ask all your friends and family to join it. And I knew I didn't have 100 friends and family. So I thought, if I get 15 people, those are my friends and family, people I'm in college with. But if I get to 100, that means there are complete and total strangers on my email list who are only there because they want to eat the food I'm serving, right? They want to eat the thing that I'm giving out. And that's what started it. That's what made it happen.
That's fantastic. So talk about launching. When did you launch? When did you first launch? Because I know you've done a bunch of them.
I've done a bunch of them. So my first launch was in 2015, the fall of 2015 or 16. I actually can't remember. I did an event, which was a live event that I called the Winter Intensive. And it was the very first time I had really worked. I'm going to launch this thing. And I did this launch, and I was like, if I can get 30 people in a hotel conference room, that'll be sold out, because I could only hold 35. And I got to 35 people, and I had people calling me saying my friend is there. Can you please let me in? I see registrations closed, and I know you're sold out. And I had to call the hotel to see if we can get into a bigger room. And that very first launch let me know that this was possible if you follow the right process and if you stick to it enough.
And so and how much did you charge for that one?
Oh boy, I don't remember. I think I charged $797, and I ended up with 42 people showing up.
Wow.
And to me, that was $9.6 billion. That was an unheard of amount of money. No one I had ever known had ever had that much money come in one time. I only left the registration open for a week. So it was this is the most money you could possibly make in a week. There is no +1 to this. This is the maximum you could make in a week, and it's amazing.
That's incredible. And you delivered that one in person, but then when did you move to then delivering it online?
So about 6 months later, I created, and I recorded it on my phone, and I created this training series that really went deep into the psychotherapy mindset. And I remember just being grossly disappointed with that. Because I thought, because of how just amazingly enthusiastic the first one went, like, and I remember, and I made money, I don't remember how much, but I made money, probably like $10,000. But I was fully prepared to make hundreds of thousands of dollars on that second launch. And that is when I just decided, I'm gonna do this until I get good at it. I have an athletic background. And I swear, like, the greatest skill you can have in the world is perseverance. And I remember when I got to college playing baseball, the difference between college baseball and high school baseball is 10 miles an hour on a fastball and a slider, right? So you have to figure out how to have bat speed to hit 10 miles an hour faster and how to hit a slider. And I'd never seen a slider in my life. And those of you who don't know baseball, a slider is a pitch that looks like a fastball, but isn't. By the time it gets to you, it has moved. And I remember locking myself in the batting cage with my coach, and I told him, throw me sliders until I can hit the damn things. And it took a few weeks, but before I knew it, I was an all-American baseball player in college. And I viewed launching the same way, like, lock me in the launch room, and I'm not coming out until I can do this well. So that first online launch, I probably made like 10 grand, but I was so disappointed. And I just thought, this is the moment where you're gonna lock me in the launch room until I get good at it. And it took me about 3 years of launching once, sometimes 3 times a month. But I wasn't after money. I was after skill and difference. I wanted to make a difference in people's lives, and I wanted to build the skill. And it wasn't until March of 2020 that it happened. And I thought, holy cow, like, this is different. Like, it finally clicked. I finally understood it.
What happened in March 2020? You can't leave us hanging there.
So in March 2020, so while I'm launching, having mediocre results, I'm making the bulk of my income traveling around the world teaching. I've become one of the leading teachers in this solution-focused thing that I do in the world, probably easily the top hired lecturer in the world. I've lectured about this approach on every continent. I've keynoted at major conferences. So it wasn't translating into online success. So I was just on the road 3 weeks out of the year teaching. And then March 11th, I'll never forget it. I was sitting at my desk at home and I was watching an NBA basketball game, and they canceled the NBA basketball game. And I thought, oh shit, I'm about to have all of my events on my calendar schedule canceled, and I don't know how this is gonna go. And sure enough, over the next 48 hours, about 40 gigs canceled or postponed, and it's all gone. And I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do. So I just thought, I can launch. It's the one, I have control. I have control over the launch. The email list belongs to me. At this time, there's about 26,000 people on my email list, which, by the way, in the subsequent months since, it has now more than doubled. It's about 53,000 today. And I just thought, all I can do is launch. And something about that launch clicked. And it shouldn't have. It's in the middle of the pandemic. Every psychotherapist just lost all their clients. And all my friends were telling me, you can't launch. Nobody has any money. But I just said, it's the only thing I know how to do. And I did the launch. The product cost $147. And I had 262 people buy. And I thought, holy shit. Like, that's the biggest number I've had by more than double. I thought, holy moly. That's the biggest number I had by more than double. And my email list grew by about 1,000. And I realized something, at least for me, the key to launching is only 2 things. I need things really simple in my head. Number 1, I have to convey to the audience that I used to be like you. And number 2, I have to be able to convey to the audience that you can now be like me. So I used to be like you. I've been where you are. And if you buy into what I'm saying, you can be where I am. And there's something about that clicked. But I didn't trust it. So when April came, I was like, we're going to launch again, just to see if it was a fluke in March. So we're going to launch again and see what happens. And I launched my big flagship training course with a $997 price tag. And we had something like 250 people buy. And I just thought, holy cow, like this is real. Like I can actually do this. And I'm so proud of, like, I locked myself in the launch room and I didn't come out until I was able to do it. So anyway, that's a long story, but that's what has happened to me since March.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Well done. None of that happens without hard work. So I just want to note that and
Thanks.
salute that. And I love that you brought the focus of an athlete to it. You know, that focus is, I'm going to nail the fundamentals and I'm just going to work on them and work on those fundamentals and nail them.
Right.
And what you just said about, like, this is, say that again, the piece about that clicked about the, you know, this is where you go.
I have to make you know that I used to be where you're sitting. And if you buy into what I'm saying, you can be where I'm sitting. And the way that I would convey that is, psychotherapists really want to help their clients, but they get so stuck in their own head, they get stuck and anxious. And I have to convey to you, I didn't always know what I was doing as a psychotherapist, but I did these things that helped me become confident and help my clients and make a difference in my clients' lives. And if you can buy into that and give me $97, you will be confident too. And once I understood that that's like the art of, like, you can study the fundamentals and you should, but it's actually not about the pragmatic steps. It's about the stuff in between. And you have to like grind enough to get there, right? You have to just like, you have to do it enough so that you're no longer thinking about the fundamentals. And then that's where the art shows up. And it took me, I don't know how long it takes other people or whatever, but it took me about 3 years.
Well,
And then I got it.
yeah, it took you the perfect amount of time. You know, we all move at, yeah, I'll tell you what, you moved faster than I did when I started out. You, absolutely. And there's some people that move faster than both of us, but everyone, you know, that was the perfect time for you. And really, at the end of the day, I mean, that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm trying to convince people that we used to be where they are, and this is where I am now, and this is how you get here. Actually, for Elliot, can you just, as a final question here, could you just speak directly to the folks watching this about that idea of you used to be there where they are, you hadn't launched, and frankly, you were up against it too. If you had 40 gigs canceled like that.
Yeah, 48 hours.
Yeah.
I think what I would like to say to people is, like, I remember having a huge therapy practice and having $200,000 in revenue, but $230,000 of expense. And I remember stressing about where I'm going to be able to come up with the extra revenue. And I remember thinking about how I'm going to take care of my partner. I remember feeling like a failure. I remember feeling lost. I remember feeling stressed. I remember feeling like being able to make money online is for people who had like spent years in graduate school studying marketing. I remember feeling like I didn't have that skill. I wasn't good enough. I remember feeling like that was about them. I remember all of that. I remember looking at the world and just thinking like, that's not for me, because I took the clinical path. So like, I'm not going to be able to achieve those things because they took the marketing path. I remember also when you start like selling to people and you start figuring it out, I remember getting emails from people that weren't super kind. I remember having to overcome that thing that it's not really about selling, it's about impact. And if I want to make a difference in the lives of psychotherapists, I owe it to the world to make some money so I can stay in business to keep making a difference. I can't make a difference if I've had to close my business because I'm broke. Like, I remember all of that. But that's different now. It's different today because now the conversations I have with myself are you know, 6-figure per month conversations and 7-figure per year conversations. But I remember not being able to sleep at night. I remember waking up with a knot in my stomach, and I remember avoiding my wife's phone calls because I knew she was going to be asking me hard questions about when I was going to be able to put more money in the bank account. And I remember like being in session all day, just being thankful by the time I got done, she was asleep. I remember those things. And yesterday my wife and this is like almost going to bring me to tears. Yesterday, my wife is looking for a car, and she texted me a picture of a car she was looking at, knowing that I could just go buy it cash. But I remember where it started, and it didn't start like that, but that's where we are today.
Elliot, thank you so much. I love the work you're doing. Your heart just explodes out of the frame. It's so great to talk to you. A remarkable story. I can't wait to see what you've got coming next.
Thank you so much for having me.
So many people wanted to know, that was Elliot Connie, 2 L's, 2 T's, and 2 N's, Elliot Connie. And it's a gift one of the greatest gifts of my life is the amazing people. I better get rid of Nugget here. Oh, you're doing good. The amazing people that I get to meet in this business. And Elliot is one of the most amazing. And he came in as a successful, he came into my world as a successful psychotherapist who spoke around the world, groundbreaking work, great practice, but still grinding. And now he has built a business where he's teaching psychotherapists and making a huge impact on those psychotherapists. And just recently, in the last 6 months, like I said, I recorded this about a year ago, his business is blowing up. He's hit 7 figures in his business. And now he's changing his focus from just purely working with psychotherapists, where he's actually going to be sharing his work with the general public, with the lay public. And I can't wait to see he is going to create a massive, massive impact in this world. And I'm not going to be able to compete with a kitten here, keeping people's attention. So I'm gonna give Nugget her little. You go have some fun. Said if I could get 100 people on my list, if I could just get to 100 people, because that would mean there were people on my list that didn't know me, and there were people that wanted to eat the food that I was serving. And then the focus, I just want to get a comma in my list. That first product he recorded on his phone. Perseverance being the #1 trait. And that's what I'm going to ask you to have, is perseverance in this business. Because, like I said, there's work involved, but I've got the formula for you. I've got the formula. And this idea that I used to be like you. And if you join me and walk with me on this path, you can be where I am today. He's just, Elliot's an extraordinary human, and I'm so just happy to be able to share him with you. He is going to be such a superstar in this world. He used to be a psychotherapist that helped, dozens of people, and that was great. And now, because he works hard, and because he's got talent, because he's amazing, but also because he found me and the formula, he is going to make an impact on this world that I don't think any of us can even conceive of yet. So Dan, did we have any questions?
Yeah, how about this one? This one's from Teresa. Teresa says, okay, so with the public speaking and hosting events, how do you get over your fear of doing that? What if it's something you've never really done before?
A lot of people have a fear of public speaking, so don't do it. I mean, that's what Elliot did. Yeah, obviously the guy's got incredible talent. He's got incredible charisma, and he just opens his mouth and amazing wisdom flows out of it. And so he's great at speaking, and that's something he does. But there are many people in this business that don't go out and do public speaking. So you just build, this business is great for introverts. There's a lot of people that are scared of public speaking. This is a great business for introverts. And if that piece doesn't work for you, then just don't do that as part of your business.
Cool. Okay, how about this one? This one from Noble Artist. This one said, ridiculously, my biggest struggle is working out why people buy art. I know why I make it, but why do people buy it aside from, oh, it's pretty?
Well, I've never thought about trying to articulate what that is, but I think there's probably a number of reasons. And part of it is, I think art feeds our souls. I think that's a huge reason why people buy art. Is it makes you feel better, it makes you feel more introspective, it feeds your soul. But another one is I know a lot of people, they buy art because they want to be seen as someone who is an art buyer, who they want their friends to see the art on their wall and think, wow, they buy art. So this isn't something I've thought about deeply, so this is just off the top of my head, but those are a couple of reasons. There's an opportunity for them to have a better life through your art. I've got Dan's photos all over the wall just because I love looking at them. They remind me, I think probably this camera, they can probably see him better, but well, maybe not one of them, but his photos are all over the place because they just remind me of places around here in Colorado. And they remind me of how, they're just beautiful images that change the way I feel about my day. So, yeah. Dan, do you have any insight into that?
I've got even better. I've got a question that might help guide you even more towards what I was thinking you were going to say.
Okay.
Because I've heard you talk, and I'm giving you this because I've heard you talk about this before. So this one's from Catherine, and Catherine is interested in fiction books. She's asking, how can I show the prospects of transformation they'll get if they buy a novel?
Well, novels just take you to a different world, right? And so I read a lot of nonfiction, but I also read fiction because fiction, it feeds your soul. It's sort of pie in the sky kind of stuff, but it feeds your soul. But also, in many ways, there's more truth about humanity and the human condition in fiction than there is in nonfiction. And so it just expands my brain and expands who I am. So, and it could also just be pure escapism, which is, Hollywood makes an incredible amount of money off of pure escapism. So there's many, many different levels for a fiction book. Is that how you've heard me talk about it in the past? Or
yeah, exactly. Right. Just that the transformation doesn't have to be that, that someone had no money and now they have money. Like there's all kinds of different transformations that can happen in people's lives.
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to keep taking questions on this, or should we move along to Amanda and Jonathan?
How about let's go to Amanda and Jonathan. This is one of my, I say this, these are like all my children, these case studies. And I've got so many of them. And in fact, we'll soon be releasing a page for you that's, it's going to have it's 86 of them on it. And you'll be able to sort them. So if you're like, I just want to look for case studies about physical products, or I just want to see case studies about seed launches, or I just want to see stories about, pandemic turnarounds, or you'll be able to sort them and just look at those. And we're going to be releasing in just a couple days. We'll send you an email about it. You'll be able to, this page just goes on and on and on, and you'll be able to watch all these case studies. There's so many of them. They are like my children, and you can't pick a favorite, but Amanda and Jonathan's is one of my favorites. So let's roll that one. I'm here with Amanda and Jonathan Texera, and they have a really cool launch journey they want to tell you about. So Amanda, Jonathan, could you just tell us a little bit about your business?
Certainly, yeah. Well, thanks for having us. So our business, Wallet Win, helps people figure out how to use their money. So we help people get out of debt, build wealth, and change the world through generosity. We do that through just covering the basics of personal finance education. So what mom and dad should have taught them, but didn't, probably because they didn't know either.
Very cool. So I remember a couple of years ago, you were at PLF Live, our big live event. You guys asked a question and you shared a little bit about what you've done. So could you just talk about where you started and how you use PLF and what happened next?
Yeah, so our story really began just over 2 years ago, I found your workshop, Jeff, and we had kind of had someday we wanted to launch this crazy business thing, right? And we had had a lot of success paying off debt in our early marriage years and saving and investing, and people were kind of just seeking us out for coaching, and we started getting speaking gigs. So I saw your workshop, took it, and you taught about the seed launch. So that summer, we kind of put out on social media channels like, hey, we're gonna like test this personal finance thing. We didn't know what we were doing. All I had was what you taught in that workshop. And 80 people said that they'd be interested in beta testing this thing. And when we opened doors, just for that little tiny seed launch that summer, we had a 31% conversion and we brought in over $3,700. So we were like, okay, I think that this thing's got legs. But it was still like, we have to create it and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's more just an exploration of a hobby at that point.
So with those people though, we kind of beta tested it. We just ran it live. It was rough. And they kind of just helped us flesh the ideas out. And they knew it was going to be a lot more dust than anybody else would see, but they were helping us get it off the ground. Yeah. So fast forward a few months.
Yeah, so we went through the beta launch, we figured out what worked, what we needed to change. And then again, it was still like, we'll get to it when we have the time or whatever. And then, then PLF, like the workshop came up again.
The live
version of it. We went through it that time. And then that time we thought, we should really know what we're doing about this. So we bought Product Launch Formula then.
Yes.
Started working through it. And then it was maybe 2 weeks into it. On a Friday afternoon, 3:15-ish, my boss walks in and says, hey, do you have a minute to talk? And it was the old, hey, that thing you're working on, we don't want to do that anymore. And because of that, we don't really need you around here anymore. So here's a box for your stuff.
Oh, no.
Okay, well,
we've got this PLF thing, and I've been working my way through the videos. And we were going to launch officially like someday when we got it all cleaned up and polished. And then we realized we've got 6 weeks of paychecks coming. And now we're good at saving. So we had personal savings, but we didn't want to have to touch it. And so we worked our tails off, strapped an iPhone to the top of a computer and started recording our videos.
Yep.
And 6 weeks later, we had a launch. And in that launch, we had about 330 people opt in. And we made 9 sales and then a couple upsells, and it brought us in about $6,000.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, I think we can do this. And then we just kept kind of just diving in full time on Wallet Win, keeping it working, serving our students, finding ways, ways to monetize and just new launches, new offers and all that. And just we were able to keep going.
Yeah, and I mean, we just couldn't believe that we literally created a business overnight out of thin air. And I remember your story, Jeff. You called yourself Mr. Mom, and it just related with me so much because I was home with the babies. We had a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old at the time, and life was pretty chaotic, but I wanted to find a way to contribute and use my skills in the world, but also stay home and raise my babies. And I wanted Jonathan to come home with me. And so the fact that in 6 weeks flat, this all came together because you gave us the skills and training. I mean, I was just in complete disbelief.
Yeah, because that was the worst part of me working. I'd leave before they wake up. I'd come home, we'd eat dinner, and then it's practically bedtime. So I hardly saw our kids except for the weekend. And I just didn't like living like that. And so through having a course, through knowing what the heck to do to sell the thing with launches, we're able now to have that part of the life that we want of spending time with our kids, of doing meaningful work and helping people. And we get to have it all.
Well, first of all, congratulations on that turnaround from that Friday afternoon at 3:15 p.m. and getting laid off. You were talking a little bit about my story of when I started way back and, hoping to get my wife home, and I was taking care of the kids. But also I had that Friday afternoon call one time with my first business where I had a partnership, a very abrupt partnership breakup. And I had to, on a Friday afternoon, I got a call like that. And that sets you back, emotionally. That's a big deal. It's a big transition. So congratulations on making that. What did that feel like to go from, wow, just to the win getting taken out of your sales to 6 weeks later, having that launch that did $6,000?
It was a heck of a feeling. I mean, it's that thing. I mean, that's the thing I always like heard about, or you see on TV or in a movie. You know, the boss comes in and it's like, as it's happening, I'm thinking, okay, I have to make that phone call and tell Amanda what's going on, and it felt terrible. And then I think what we were trying to, I don't know why. I think I had my bag from when we were recording something. I had a voice recorder and a mic, so I mic'd myself on the way home that day. So it's in a podcast episode of ours, the day Jonathan lost his job. And when we listened back to it a year later, and it was incredible because it's just like, all right, this kind of sucks, but we're going to move forward. And I guess we're going full time on WalletWin, and it's going to work and it's going to happen because that's what's going to happen. And I think I had that confidence there because right, and you look at the future, and especially with this kind of figuring out the future, it can be a lot of just fuzzy images, a lot of fog, a lot of question marks, but we had our way forward. You know, we were still learning it going through the course, but we had that way forward of, okay, we have this thing and we're going to do it this launch, we're going to do it this way, and we've kind of done it before, and now we're going to really do it, and why wouldn't we see the success?
Yeah. I would say if we had not enrolled in the course, Jeff, like, I think he would have just gone and gotten another job. We would have postponed things. And now, knowing what we know, that would have been the worst mistake ever, because you just have to get going. There's just never a perfect time to go and to launch. And so we're just really glad that we had that shove and that we had the right resource to land on to make that next pivot.
That's fair. I'm getting chills when Jonathan, when you talked about recording yourself in the drive home, that was giving me chills. So
Yeah, he's kind of dramatic like that.
That's awesome. Congrats. Well, can you but I imagine you guys get chills in thinking about the people that you're working with and the impact you're making. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, we love sharing our student stories because, you know, in the beginning it was like, all right, this worked for us and it's worked for a couple people we've coached, but will it work for all of our students? And it's just incredible to hear their stories. We have a gal in our course, she's a single mom and a school teacher, and she joined our course with $60,000 in debt, and she thought it would take decades to pay it off. You know, she's raising her 3 kids and she has a school teacher's income. But she started doing what we teach her, and in the first year alone, she paid off $37,000 in debt. And she's almost debt-free and gonna be able to buy a house. And she thought that was a pipe dream for years down the road.
Yeah. We have a girl, another girl. She wrote into us and just saying, you know, we kind of asked her a couple questions of how's it going, is it working? And then she said, yeah, you know what, it's really working. I saw WalletWin start working when I had my emergency savings established. I saw it working when I wrote that check for over $1,000 to pay off that IOU. I saw it working when I was able to follow this medical advice that my doctor gave me, and I could because I had the money to do it. I'll see it working when I know that I'm going to be successful. I'm going to
be able to retire,
retire, give generously, change the world through that generosity, and I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to do this. And this girl, before she enrolled, was going back and forth with us on email. And was just like all these questions, and I don't think I could ever do it. I don't think it's gonna work. And I've tried these other things, and now she's doing it. Now it's just again like total transformation in not just her financial situation, but like how she's going through life.
Right. So because money touches everything. So we just love seeing not only those financial wins that our students are getting, but how it ripples out.
So speaking of the financial wins, I've got so many questions. That $6,000, you guys didn't stop there, right? Where has it gone since then?
We did not stop there. We would have
stop there.
That's why I like to say your first launch is never your last launch.
No. So fast forward from that very first one, you know, we tried different things. We did some webinars here and there. We did a flash sale and just kind of, you know, found different ways to monetize. And we introduced a membership into our business. So we kind of had a 1-2 punch there with the course and then this membership. But then a few months after we were at that conference, PLF Live, actually maybe just a couple of months later, we found out about a surprise adoption situation. And
Mhm.
the price tag we were given was somewhere between, $15,000 and $30,000
And this baby's gonna be born
in like 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So we were like, what? Like, okay, we want to grow our family, but we're just bringing in enough just for ourselves, which is a feat in and of itself to just go from 0 to 60 and have an income to support a family of 4.
Yeah, but we need to get up to 75.
But we need to go a little farther. So I remember writing into the PLF alumni Facebook group, and all of a sudden, these alumni were just swarming around me, and they were like, we're going to craft a game plan. We're going to figure this out. You're saying yes. We're going to, they're all confident. And I remember just like shaking as I read some of these ideas they had and having some of these conversations with them. But we thought, okay, they're smarter than us. They've been around the block. We'll do what they say.
Mhm.
And so over the next 6 weeks, baby's born in 8, right? So we had 6 weeks before we needed to open that cart. We plotted and planned this launch. And it was an imperfect launch, but we brought in over 1,100 people onto our list, and we had an 8% conversion because we told our story that we needed this money to adopt, and we were, this was it. Help us. We'll help you. You help us. Let's lean on each other. We had a killer conversion rate, and we brought in just enough to wire it straight to the adoption lawyer. And a couple weeks later, we welcomed our 3rd daughter, Eleanor May, into our family.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. That's amazing. Incredible story. So the first launch, what was it? It was 80 people or something like that. And now you just added in. Can you talk about, because this is something that holds people back, is they worry about having this list and not having a list and not having a big enough list. So you talk just a little bit about the growth in your list and how you've grown it and how that all worked, because you started from scratch.
Yeah, right. We started from 0, from nothing, from our Facebook profiles. I mean, which is essentially nothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was just I feel like it was just this staircase. I mean, you hear about some stories where it's just this huge skyrocket, but we've always had very young children. And so we put boundaries around how much we're going to work, because we can never get back the little years. So yes, we probably could have gone faster than we've gone even in the last 2 years, but we guard that and we protect that. And we're so happy that our business is allowing us to say yes to that, because that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, we've also grown a lot. And so, yeah, it was 80 people in the beginning, then it was 300.
Mm-hmm.
Then that next launch, it was about 1,000. Then, it just kind of kept going every few months. And I think now we're sitting at a little over 4,000 people.
Yeah, we just wrapped up a launch this week. So the Post-it notes are people who joined us from this launch. And just that launch alone, I think added 2,000 people to our list.
It doubled.
And so sure, launches are great for selling your product and making money right then. But we've seen the benefit on building the list, because we've seen, there's people out there, they dive into the workshop, they're ready, and then they buy right then. But we've also had a lot of people we see, it takes a little while. You gotta warm them up a little longer. So getting them on the list, if they don't buy, that's not a loss. It's still a win for us, because as time goes on, the likelihood that they make that purchase just goes up. So we've seen that. And so we're always happy when we do a launch, when we just see that number in our email provider just go, so it's a great feeling.
That's awesome. This has been quite the journey for you, from that first launch and losing your job and just turning it around almost immediately to adopting a baby and having that constraint of 8 weeks, and boom, we're going to launch. So congratulations. And it's amazing. And my last question is, where are you going now? Where do you see the business? What's it like being home, Jonathan, and being able to both be there to raise the kids? And where do you see taking the business now?
I'd say, just to start, in some ways, the most important thing, it feels amazing to be home, to see the kids, where they're just not missing me, right? Sure, you come home from work or whatever, or from a trip away or whatever, and get the running into dad hug, that's great. But what's even better is the after lunch clean up the dishes hug, or the put you to bed every night hug, or all those things. That's amazing. And so, like Amanda said, we're continuing to be thankful and to structure things so that we have this time together with our family. We can eat all our meals together, kiss, say hello in the morning, kiss them goodnight at night, and do that all together. We're not just, missing, nobody's just at work all the time. And we're growing to, now we're expanding, in some sense, like our product line, different courses we're in the midst of developing right now to just, grow our our audience, a little bit, just kind of blob out until we just start taking,
out.
just that ever expanding ooze that's just going to eat more and more of the market as we grow. Maybe more succinct or less gooey way to say it.
A classy way, yeah. This fall we're actually working on a new course, and it all, all the pieces fit together. And it just feels good to know that we didn't have to master that all in the beginning. It was just the first thing. And then as you go, you can kind of add more and you get more experience. And in the beginning, we didn't know what we didn't know. So now as we come to the table with that education, we're able to kind of craft the right offer and have more confidence behind it. And then you talk about, Jeff, that launch echo. And so we've just had, just in the last 6 months, people are now approaching us looking for partnerships, looking for a joint webinar, looking for us to come speak at something. And, I just think that's all part of that launch echo, which is then going to help us on that next launch, is these other opportunities that have come to us because we had the credibility of the, kind of branding ourselves as the experts in the launch. So, yeah.
Jonathan and Amanda, thank you so much. It's been great to hear of your progress. Congratulations on so many big milestones. Congratulations on your family, on your adoption. Thanks for sharing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
It's our pleasure.
How about Jonathan and Amanda? I love this story. The Friday afternoon bad news, and then it went from someday till we've got 6 weeks to get launched. And they strapped an iPhone to the top of their computer and did that 6K launch like that. I saw a question in the comments, does it take 6 weeks to launch? Or why, I can't remember exactly. Is there a reason to take 6 weeks before doing a launch? And, it all depends on where you are and what your assets are. I think that for the majority of people to go from standing still to getting a launch put together, I think 6 weeks is well, I think it's awesome. They got it done in 6 weeks. So it's always going to vary by what you're bringing to the table, about where your assets are. If you've already got a business, you've already got a list, conceivably you could put something together quicker. But really, we're talking about doing a big thing, right? This is a big thing. And, it's just, there's another question is like, don't you burn your list out if you keep on doing launches? And no, you don't. I mean, typically, there is no typical, because as you've seen with Lorraine and Kate and Ann and Zach and Michael and Dylan and Elliot and Amanda and Jonathan, they all are in different places with very different businesses. So there's no typical. But often a typical PLF owner, even though there is no typical, might do 2 or 3 or 4 launches per year. And they might have, what often happens is and I don't need to show you the page, because just if we go back and envision, we had the page where I showed you the seed launch and the internal launch and the JV launch. And often you'll do the internal or the JV and you'll do the seed launch and create a product, then do an internal launch for it. And because the conversation that you have with the people in your market, they'll tell you the next thing they need. And then you go back and do another launch, another seed launch, and create that next product. And then you might have multiple products, and you might alternate doing those launches. So in any case, they strapped an iPhone to the top of their computer to create their product. That's the deal, is we all have the tools we need to create a product. The tools are your phone or your computer. You've already got the tools. You know, Amanda talked about, you know, if they hadn't done that launch, it'd be like, go get another job. And that would have been the worst thing ever. Amanda talked about leaning into the PLF alumni group when they found out about the baby coming up for adoption and they needed to come up with a quick $30,000, or she said $15,000 to $30,000. You know, we need that money quick. She reached out to the alumni group, got lots and lots of help. And in 6 weeks, put that launch together, added 1,100 people to their list. Goes back to that idea of doing a launch is one of the best things you can do to build your list. And they were able to get Eleanor May, welcome Eleanor May into their life, doubled their list. And then they talked about the Launch Echo, which is all those extra things that come to you. In addition to the money, it's the list build. It's the speaking gigs. It's the joint venture partners. It's the content partners. The Echo, it's the positioning it's showing up here as one of my case studies. So yeah, just super, super cool case study, an incredible story of sort of turmoil being turned around into having another daughter and building a very nice business. So Dan, did we have any questions?
Yeah, we do. Okay, how about, I like this one a lot. This one is from Jeff. Jeff says, what is the most unique way that you've seen PLF used? I was thinking we've got some crazy, we've seen it just in so many different markets. I wonder if maybe just hit a highlight or two of some of the more interesting ones.
Yeah, one of the ones that I'll never forget is a guy that was selling Holstein cow embryos. And that was, yeah, that was, I don't even know how you do that.
I don't even know what that is exactly.
Well, a Holstein cow, those are those real distinctive cows. Kristen, those are the ones that are like the black and white big patches. And I guess they're valuable. And embryos, I guess, I don't know. He just told us, sent an email, said, this is how I'm doing it. Another guy used it to sell high-end CRM packages, customer relationship management packages to big corporate companies. So these are deals, many hundreds of thousands of dollars to make these sales. And that was ridiculous. And I asked him about it. It's like, well, you don't go through a sideways sales letter and have a add to cart button at the end and someone adds a $500,000 sale. He used the sideways sales letter to get in the door so he could make a presentation. So he had content to the decision makers to be able to get in to make the presentation. So that was pretty creative. I know, what are some of the ones you can remember? I mean, we've had just crazy, crazy markets.
Yeah, and speaking of some of the like more, maybe not intangible, but less tangible sort of ones, there's the one where there was a guy who was selling and he was teaching artists how to connect better with their inner artist so that they could be a better artist to sell more art. And what did he end up doing in a couple of his launches? Like,
yeah, over $1 million. Over $1 million.
Yeah, we've had just it's just kind of outrageous the number of markets that we've had people.
Every kind of art you could imagine, every kind of teaching art, every type of musician, every type of sports. Like, I mean, one of the early ones was tennis with Will Hamilton teaching people play tennis better. I mean, can you teach tennis online? Well, yes, you can. And it just horse ballet, or otherwise known as dressage. We have a case study I just shot was, and we'll release it for you on the case study page, was with Erica Bowling, who did one. Her market is canine fitness for working dogs. I mean, so you have the whole pet market, then you have the dog market, then you have the dog training market, then you have the dog fitness market, then you have the dog fitness market for working dogs. I mean, it's a pretty little niche, but she just quit her job. Like at the start of COVID, she was a tenured associate professor at Rutgers University. Tenured professor means she's basically got a job for life. And she just walked in and said, hey, I'm going to be leaving because I've got this business and it's going really well. And I bought my dream home and I'm moving to it. And I'm going to teach people about canine fitness for working dogs.
And she's in the chat. Hey, Erica.
Oh, hey, Erica.
Okay, awesome. Okay, how about we're running a little bit longer today with sharing
So-
some cool stories. So maybe I just got like a couple more, and then we can.
Okay, so I got, this is the deal, folks, is we're at, let's see, are we at 2 hours and 54 minutes?
We are.
So we could do this two ways. I can take a couple more questions and then we could call it a wrap at 3 hours. And rumor is there is going to be an after hours coming up. Who's going to be on the after hours? Who's going to be on after hours?
Give me just a second. Alphabet.
Kevin, Donna, Kevin, and JT are going to be on after hours. For any of you who were on after hours yesterday, was that pretty cool? Did you have fun there? They're going to be in after hours in the Facebook group, in the Launch Masterclass Facebook group. Something else. First here, let me ask the question and then I'll run through my little announcements. So we could sort of wrap this up right now, maybe take some more questions, or I do have a really cool case study. We sort of teased about it earlier, and it's about selling a physical product. And it's a crazy, remarkable story. Another one of my absolute favorites. It's a high energy one. And so, should we put in a wrap or should we do a physical product case study for you? But you can let us know in the comments. So, but a few announcements while the answers come in. So, after hours in the Facebook coming up with Donna, Kevin, and JT. It's going to be super cool. Tomorrow is lesson 3, and that's all about actually making the sale. So all of this, we end up here on the open cart. Or if we flip way back, I told you all about these 3. I haven't told you about the open cart. So the open cart is, it's critical. And tomorrow we're going to go deep on that. It's going to happen at the same time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time for me in Colorado. But tonight is the daylight savings change here in the United States. So if you're outside the United States, please, please, please check the timing. And I think we've got it on the concierge page, which is this page you're on right now. After this video goes down, then, and you refresh the page, there's going to be all kinds of other stuff to watch. You can watch the replay, the case studies. You can you can follow me on Insta. You can join our Telegram list. There's also a link to convert time zones. So just be careful that you don't get messed up with time zones and miss the lesson tomorrow because of the daylight savings change. So lesson 2 tomorrow is the open cart. It's super, super cool. And how are the comments, or what do people want to see another case study?
I just about got like blown out of my chair by the amount of comments just flying in asking for a case study here. So
Okay.
I'm gonna say maybe like another couple questions quick and then we'll roll that one.
Okay, a couple more
Okay.
questions, then we'll roll it.
Cool. First of all, though, I got a message from Chris on our team. He just sent over a partial list of niches of PLF owners. I thought this was kind of fun. So we've got pop music singles, mindfulness meditation, love letters and online dating, test preparation, Photoshop and multimedia tutorials, loan officers, realtors, baseball coaches, SAP programmers, knitting and crochet, futures trading. This is taking a lot longer to read this than I thought it would. International professional pianist, bookstore books, raw food, coaching in Poland, pharmaceutical processing equipment, documentary filmmaking, skincare, drum lessons, chefs, cats and dog care, pet first aid, carving wooden dolls, and that's like a third of them so far. So I'm gonna stop there. But there's a whole lot. That's really cool right there. Okay, we are getting some questions here. So you had mentioned earlier on in the masterclass they will be opening up registration for Product Launch Formula at some point here. We have been getting some questions throughout the whole masterclass about when that will be and just how that's going to work. You want to just hit that really quick here?
Yeah, just super quick. So we started yesterday on Friday and we're going to end on Friday, and all this material is going to be available for you. We have replays for everything. This page, the concierge page, is your happy place because we just did some programming magic. So right now you're watching me live here, but after I'm done, you come back to this page, you hit the refresh button, and you're going to be able to get all the replays. You're going to be able to get all the goodies, all the links. There's up in the upper right corner. You can always see what's coming up, you know, the various lessons that are coming up. We got everything for you here. So we go Friday to Friday. Next Friday, we're all this stuff's available until Friday at midnight, and then we'll pull down everything, and then the launch masterclass is done until next year. And so tomorrow is the open cart. And then on Monday, we take a break from the live broadcast and we will officially open up registration. We'll send you an email. The email will go to a video. The video will tell you what's involved with the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program. And I would love for you to consider joining me, because I'm in this to change lives. And you know, lives like Elliot's, and lives like Amanda and Jonathan's, and Lorraine's, and Dylan's, and Zach's, and Michael's, and all the people I've introduced you to. I'm in this business to change as many people's lives as possible, and more than that, help them get their work out in the world. So registration, we'll send you a link on Monday that's the official open for the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program. Now, I think if you show up tomorrow on lesson 3, there might be a little bit of a soft open. I like to have my surprises, but there might be a bit of a soft open, and there might be, I might make it extra special for you. So that's about what's gonna, and I'll just tell you all about it. You know, once I'll take 15 minutes and I'll tell you about the coaching program.
Okay, awesome. Once again, for everybody, we've got for that lesson tomorrow, so we're getting more people asking about what time it is in their time zone. On the concierge page, we have a time zone converter. Best thing to do is to go there and use the time zone converter, and that'll tell you what time it is.
And Dan, just to be like, this time zone converter, it's not our tool. I just like Googled time zone converter, and then they exist. So you don't need our link. You could just go type in Google or your search engine of choice, DuckDuckGo or Ecosia, just type in time zone converter, and you'll click, and you'll be able to go, and it'll say, you know, where do I live, and convert that into New York time. I want to be somewhere at 4 p.m. New York time. What time is that for me? And then I would suggest doing that tomorrow morning, because the time zone converter tool might not know about daylight savings time, but this isn't rocket science. You just go Google it.
Awesome. Okay. Well, with all that said, should we roll on to Blaine?
Yeah. This one has got more smiles than just about any case study, and it's a remarkable story of selling physical products. So I'm here with Blaine Hitzfield, and a lot of times people wonder if PLF works for physical products, and I think we've got the answer for you here. Blaine, welcome to this call. I really appreciate you joining us. So could you just tell us a little bit about your business?
Yes, no, I'm happy to be here and join you here, Jeff. So I grew up on a farm. I'm a farmer. And we direct market the products that we produce here in our farm to consumers. We make home deliveries to their homes, and so it's a real farm to fork food experience here. I farm with my 6 other brothers, so that's the name of the company, 7 Sons. It's a family business here, and I came across your material, Jeff, through a mutual friend, and I didn't expect what would happen after we applied what we learned. So
cool. So could you just talk a little bit about because you're not just like a regular farm, you do some really cool stuff. So
exactly, we're super passionate about what we're doing here. So on our farm, we're in Northeast Indiana. So if you were to drive, we're flyover country, if you were to drive out here, all you would see is corn and soybeans out here in this area. And you might see some big barns filled with all kinds of animals, confinement feeding animal operations. Well, you come to our farm, what you're going to see is 500 acres of sprawling pasture. It's like a ranch in the middle of corn and soybean country. And we've, come to our farm, there's 7,000 chickens out on the pasture. I mean, just sprawling out on the pasture. And so we collect pasture-raised eggs from those hens. We raise cattle out on grass and sell grass-fed beef to our customers. And we also raise hogs here on the farm. and they're also all outdoors. So no animals inside. And so, we're in a day and age where the average person has no clue where their food comes from. And we're basically bridging that gap, telling the story of what we do to our customers, being transparent about what we do. And we've got a lot of happy customers. And like I say, very passionate about what we do, connecting people to their food source. That's and giving them confidence in what they're eating. That's really what we're in the business of doing, is giving people confidence back with what they eat. So
very cool. So, and I could just see you light up when you start talking about, what you're creating. Love it. So 2 years ago, approximately, give or take, you came into my world. And could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was crazy. I was noticing, I was following a few folks that I was getting some consulting from, and I noticed that several of them were following this very specific email marketing. Like, it felt like a method, and I really liked it. I appreciated it. It brought value to me as I'm learning from these different folks. And it was through one of those folks I was following that I heard about this product launch formula. I'm like, I think this is the actual formula I've been trying to figure out. And I think this is who started it and taught it. So I of course signed up for your course, Jeff, especially after going through the pre-launch content. It was so valuable to me. And so signed up for your course. And I'll just be transparent. I wasn't aware of the information marketing world at that time. And after I signed up, I realized, well, I think this is Product Launch Formula is really meant for information marketers, and we're in the physical product business, e-commerce business, and a farm to boot. And I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work for us, but I invested in the course, and I didn't want to go back to my other brothers here on the farm and tell them, hey, I invested in something that I don't think is going to work for us. So I thought, I'm going to give it a try. And we also, so in addition to the products that we raise on our own farm, we work with a fisherman up in Alaska for wild caught seafood. And I thought, the salmon run had just finished. We just got a fresh shipment of salmon in from Alaska. And I thought this might be the perfect opportunity to just try a launch. So during our pre-launch, like a week leading up to before we opened the cart for the fresh salmon for the season, I sent out a series of emails and videos just educating customers about the benefits of wild-caught salmon, telling the story behind the fishermen that we work with. And at this point, I'm investing a lot into this pre-launch. I'm like, I have no idea if this is going to work or not. But we finally sent the cart open email to our customers. And I went to bed that night, and I thought, wake up in the morning and see what happened. Well, we had gotten in like 2 pallets of salmon from Alaska. By the time I woke up in the morning, it was half gone. And I'm just watching the sales just tick. And I call my brothers in to look at the sales reports, and they thought I was crazy, getting all this pre-launch content ready. And they're like, this is crazy. This works. And so I'm getting on the phone. I'm calling Captain Tony up in Alaska. You've got to send more salmon because I'm going to be out in a couple hours. So we're scrambling around. I have to go to his warehouse in St. Louis to pick up a couple more pallets of salmon. And by the time that was a 5-day event, it was really cool. Each day we introduced a new type of salmon. So we started off with sockeye, and then day 2 we did keta salmon, and then we introduced some other wild caught seafood in that same week. And so it was really fun and interactive for the customers. But get this, so just to give you a couple numbers, up until that point, we were only moving like $750 of seafood per week. That was just kind of our average, just kind of trickling along. Well, that week, we went from an average of $700 in sales in seafood to $38,000 is where we finished out the week, $38,000, just one launch. And that doubled the entire amount of sales we had for the year. So in a 1-week launch, we doubled the total seafood sales that we would typically sell in a year. So, and I'll add too, that was 2017, fall of 2017, as soon as I learned about the launch formula. And a year later, we did our 2018, we call it our Wild for Seafood event. And we 2x'd last year's. So again,
wow.
Crazy.
Amazing. Yeah. So first of all, you've probably heard me say my goal is for, not a guarantee, but my goal for PLF owners is to make as many sales in a week as they do normally do in a year. So you doubled that, and then you doubled it again.
And it doubled that number the next year. Okay.
That's amazing. Did you think Captain Tony has ever gotten a call like that? Like as soon as he ships?
No, Captain Tony, I mean, he was just as excited as I was. He's like, how did you do this? And I explained it to him, and he was still just couldn't believe it. He's like, there's gotta be something more you're doing. Like, no, it's called a launch, Tony. He's like, well, I'm just going to launch my boat. You launch your marketing email. So, but
that's amazing. And like I like to say, your first launch is never going to be your last launch. So you did that 2 years in a row with the salmon, but you've also done it with your other products.
Yeah. So I skipped way ahead there to the next year, but so it wasn't. We did that in October 2017 was the seafood launch, and of course we've got to try this again. Was it a fluke or is this going to work with other products? So every year, usually around November, December is when we harvest the majority of our cattle, and we have a lot of premium grass-fed beef all in the freezer. The freezers are full, so it's harvest season. So I thought, well, here we go. Here's another story we could try to tell about the product, and about the seasonal nature of what we do and why the winter is a good time to stock up on beef. So we did. We came out with our beef harvest event, and that was just in February. So just a couple months later, we came out with pre-launch content, and a lot of this content was just telling the story behind our farm, our beef production practices, actually taking my camera, my phone, walking into the freezer, showing them all the inventory, and just educating them about why we would do a launch at this time of year. And so we thought our seafood sale was good. At that time, February 2017, we were averaging around 13,000 in beef sales per week. By the time we got through that launch, we had done 128,000. So from 13,000 average weekly sales to 128,000 in beef sales. And the guys in the warehouse here, I'm down there packing orders. Literally, I get off the emails, I get off the computer, I go down there, and I'm packing orders that entire week, and talking pallets of beef shipping out the door. So that was just a couple months later after the seafood launch. So this has changed our philosophies about marketing. It's changed our entire business, and really pushed us to an entire new level. As I was mentioning before the call, we actually hired a launch manager because now we're doing 5 to 6 launches all throughout the year because of the different products we raise. It makes sense to do a seasonal push on those different products. And the pre-launch formula is just perfect for telling the story behind our products before we do the actual launch. So.
Wow. So the beef launch was like a 10x what you would normally do in a week. If I remember right, from 13,000 to 128,000, if I'm remembering right. That congratulations, it's amazing. So a few questions. First of all, if I'm getting this timing right, that first launch for the salmon was in October of 17, and you got PLF in September of 17. And actually it was late September, if I remember when our launch was. It was like the 3rd week of September. So within a month, you were able to put that launch together for the salmon.
Yes. It was immediate. Yeah. We had the course, got the information, and basically just pivoted real quick and did, and you know what, Jeff, we didn't execute it perfectly. I mean, we were using MailChimp at the time, and we've now since all this, we've advanced to some pretty cool email marketing stuff. But, we just did it simple. We didn't have any segmentation put in place at that time. We didn't have any technology to see who placed an ordering pattern. We just did it simple. And I'm just glad. I'm just so glad we just started and tried it and got it off the ground. That was the most important decision, was just putting the information to use and getting started with it.
And so I thank you for that, because people they can not hear that message too often of just get started, just move. And so you're using video, and I imagine like you probably weren't a YouTube video star before this. So
no, we're farmers here. We're just telling a story and being transparent about what we do. And that's And that's too what I really like about PLF is that it was a way for us to, to get really just to provide a framework for telling our story. And at the end of the day, like after we've done like 6 launches, we still have customers asking us to launch other products that we haven't launched yet. So they're actually asking us, can you apply this to other products that you haven't done it yet with? So they're asking for more launches. So it's a very genuine way to engage with our customers, tell more of the story, and provide more value to them. And at the same time, it's obviously a win-win for everybody. So
very cool. So, and now you've actually started, you're selling courses, or you're moved into the information world as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've just taken what we've learned in internet marketing and how do you apply it to a farm who's trying to do a direct marketing sales model like we do. And we've had, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a little bit of a following of other farms that have seen what we're doing and watching what we do. So we decided to put together a course that not only spoke to some of the marketing models that we use, but also the economic models behind what we do. Because farming is especially at a small scale like we are, we're beating the odds in our business and our scale because of what we're doing. So we had a lot of small farms that wanted to learn from our economic models and production models. So we put together a course. It would have been just earlier this year. And we had acquired an email list of farms that were following us. And we launched that course to them just using the PLF formula. And that was right around a $70,000, $80,000 launch for the first course we've ever done. And so it was a course price between about $1,000 to $1,500. There's a couple different options there for students, but that was just as exciting as the very first seafood launch, because that was our first content information marketing product. So that was very rewarding to be able to launch a course and training to help empower other farms with our models. So that was exciting.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So there's going to be a lot of people watching this, and a lot of them have a physical product, some and are wondering, but a lot of them, I think you're an inspiration to everyone, whether they're selling information, selling a membership, selling a service, or a physical product. So a lot of people are, just want to get started, and you are an example of moving and getting started. So final question, what would you say to them, the people that are sitting at home thinking, could this possibly work? Should I do this? Can I have an online business? Can I have this type of business?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I think it was you that said it, Jeff, in one of your training videos, is that I think you asked the question, when's the best time to plant an oak tree? I think you said, well, the best time is 40 years ago, but the second best time is today. And that really spoke to me, which is why that inspired us to put what we learned into practice immediately. It's something where, nothing ever happens without action, right? And so I just encourage everybody that's taking this course and considering it. Looking back, Jeff, the investment that we put into your course the value was incredible. I never would imagine we would have gotten the value that we got out of it, because not only did it give us a formula, like a cut and dried formula to follow, but so much of your training is just principles of marketing that we apply all across our business. And ultimately in 2018, and one of the reasons that we signed up for the course, Jeff, is because we were struggling with our marketing before that. I was looking for, new marketing models and information. And after applying what we learned, it totally took us to a new level. And in 2018, just last year, our business grew by $1 million. And I know I can trace it all the way back to PLF. It all started from there, and it just opened our world up to a whole new level of marketing. So I appreciate that, Jeff.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you're doing in the world. Congratulations. Absolutely amazing results. Well done. None of this happens without hard work and getting started. So thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Jeff.
And that's Blaine Hitzfield. I love his story. Calling Captain Tony. Captain Tony says, you launch your emails and I'll launch my boat. But calling Captain Tony because he sold out of pallets of salmon. He went from $750,000 a week on average to doing a week of $38,000. Doubled what he did for the year, and then the next year doubled again. So 4x results. He really told the story of the product. That's really what his launch came down to. And that's, if you've got a physical product, you can tell the story of your product, the story of the making of it, the story of the inspiration, the story of it getting shipped, the story of supply chain issues, and it's coming in, and we hope we can get it in time for you. He went from, when he did the beef launch, went from $13,000 a week to $128,000. And, you know, he really talked, and most of these launches, the initial launches were done via email. No video, no social, no video, no social, no live broadcasts, no speaking on stage, email. So you can do all of this just with the simplest technology if you would like. He was all about imperfect action and keeping it simple. And yes, they've gotten far more sophisticated, but they've added massively to their business, and it's allowed them to do that. And his focus on just getting started. And then his move, you know, he's still passionate about farming and passionate about what they do, what he does with his 6 brothers. But then they've moved into a digital course, which is at least partially about making an impact and helping people, helping other farmers do the work the way they do it. That where they're just taking care of their animals in a way that normally is not normally done. And so, but that idea of, a lot of times people with physical products might transition to a digital product, or at least partially to a digital product. Basically, it can be a great way to add sales in a high margin product. So that was Blaine, and that was a physical product used with PLF. So, and Dan has rigged up, he has repurposed our squirrel cam. Since we aren't having any squirrels showing up, he's repurposed the squirrel cam as a nugget cam. And the Nuggets actually.
She's actually asleep, I think.
Nuggets asleep. That's, oh, there.
Nope, there she goes. She's
Yeah.
waking up just a little bit.
It's amazing that she stayed still long enough for you to get that camera in place. That is the Nugget cam. So about this point in the masterclass, people are starting to feel like, wow, I've gotten so much. It's just, this starts to seem doable, but can it work for me? And how can it work for me? And one of the reasons I like to share the case studies is I think there's amazing learning in them. But you can see there's so many people that have been where you are, and that this is a well-trodden path. And if you're willing to put the work in and put one step in front of the other, take those baby steps, you don't have to worry about the 1,000th step. And, you know, sometimes you see these case studies and it's like, well, I can't be like Elliot. He didn't start with anyone, but he spoke, you know, he was famous for his technique. Or Amanda and Jonathan, yeah, well, they all of a sudden had extra time because Jonathan was laid off. Or Blaine was like, well, he had a bunch of salmon to sell. Or Lorraine, you know, she's got so much presence there. Or Kate has this great story. That you can either look at these folks and find what part doesn't work for you, or you can find what part does work for you. Everyone has their own path in this world. Everyone comes in with different capabilities. Everyone comes in with different assets. Everyone comes in with different interests and desires. But if you want to create something, if you want to create something in this world, if you want to have that online business and what it can bring you, this is a well-trodden path. And I'm here to give you that formula. It works. It works if you do the work. So we're going to get to the open cart tomorrow. It's going to be super cool. It's going to be a shorter lesson tomorrow. I'm not going to go quite so long. Hopefully we don't have any connection difficulties. We still have a super secret segment coming up in just a few minutes. We have after hours that will be starting in the Facebook group soon. We have, what else do we have? I've got one, I'll wait for tomorrow for that one. I have one request of you, but I'll wait for tomorrow for that one. So we have the after hours. We got lesson number 3 tomorrow with the open cart. And I think that's about it. Dan, did I forget anything?
Don't think so.
Remember, daylight savings time changes. We'll actually probably be able to see a sunset from the deck here tomorrow as we're winding up. But I'll see you tomorrow in a Launch Masterclass.